The crystal glasses clinked as my sister Amanda raised her fourth toast of the evening. To Daddy's 60th birthday, she beamed, and to wise investments. That last part was aimed at me, her signature subtle dig. I sipped my wine quietly, watching the family dynamics play out around our father's massive dining table. The same table where 3 years ago our grandfather's will had been read. I'm Sarah Mitchell, youngest of 3, and according to my family, the only one who squandered their inheritance. If they only knew that my squandered $2 million had just turned into $8 billion yesterday. Sarah, darling, my mother's voice carried that familiar note of disappointment. I noticed your car's getting rather worn. Are you sure you wouldn't like to discuss financial planning with Amanda? She's done so well with her inheritance. Amanda preened, her designer dress and diamond earrings screaming success. The investment firm's portfolio is up 12% this quarter, she announced. That's on top of the beach house appreciation. My brother Michael, the middle child and sensible investment banker, nodded approvingly. Smart moves, Mandy. Unlike some people's, what did you call it, Sarah? Tech venture? I adjusted my deliberately modest sweater. No designer labels for me, not yet. Something like that. Speaking of which, my father set down his fork. Your mother and I are concerned. That inheritance was meant to secure your future, not fund some computer experiment. If only they could see my private island in the Pacific. Or the penthouse in Manhattan. Or the fleet of cars I kept hidden in a warehouse across town. But tonight wasn't about that. Tonight was about timing. Amanda's right, my mother sighed. She invested wisely. Property, blue-chip stocks, secure bonds. While you... She glanced at my second-hand watch. Well, at least you have your little consulting job. That little consulting job was actually me running my tech company, Mindframe Technologies, through a series of shell corporations. The same company that was about to shock the business world. Tell them about the new yacht club membership, Michael urged Amanda. That's what smart inheritance management looks like. Amanda lifted her chin. Well, since you mentioned it, Morgan and I just got accepted to Golden Harbor Club. Very exclusive. Not that some of us would know about such things anymore. My phone buzzed silently in my pocket. Right on schedule. I just worry, my mother continued, swirling her expensive wine from a vineyard I secretly owned, about your retirement, Sarah. You're 32. The inheritance could have set you up for life like it did for Amanda and Michael. Instead, Amanda smirked, you threw it all away on some app idea. At least I invested my share wisely. The family's smart TV mounted on the dining room wall had been playing CNBC quietly in the background. Suddenly the breaking news alert chimed. Speaking of investments, I said softly, nodding toward the screen. The headline flashed, breaking. Tech giant acquires Mindframe Technologies for $16 billion, largest acquisition of the year. My mother's wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering against fine china. Amanda's fork clattered onto her plate. Michael choked on his bourbon. The newsreader's voice filled the stunned silence. In a shocking move, Mindframe Technologies, the secretive AI firm founded by Sarah Mitchell, has been acquired for $16 billion in cash and stock. Mitchell, who started the company with a small inheritance. That's not possible, Amanda whispered, her perfect composure cracking. You wasted your inheritance. Everyone knows that. I pulled out my phone, checking the official notification. Actually, I invested it. Just not in yacht clubs and beach houses. 16 billion? My father's voice cracked. But you drive a used Honda. Amazing what you can accomplish when people underestimate you, I replied, standing to retrieve my coat, my real coat, the hand-tailored Burberry I'd kept hidden in the hall. By the way, Amanda, about the Golden Harbor Club. I bought it last month. Consider your membership revoked. Michael was frantically Googling on his phone. There's more, he said weakly. Forbes. Wall Street Journal. They're all running the story. Tech's hidden billionaire. The stealth startup queen. Sarah, how did we not know? I smiled, remembering all the family dinners where they'd lectured me about responsibility. All the snide comments about wasting my potential. All the times Amanda had showcased her wise investments while mocking my choices. You didn't know, I said quietly, because you saw what you wanted to see. The irresponsible youngest child. The tech dreamer. The one who wasted her inheritance. My phone buzzed again, my actual assistant, not the temp job they thought I worked. Ms. Mitchell, the private jet is ready. Tokyo office needs you first thing tomorrow. Private jet. My mother's voice was faint. One of 12, I confirmed. Along with properties in 7 countries, a tech campus larger than Google's, and yes, Amanda, a much bigger yacht than the one you bragged about last Christmas. Amanda's perfect makeup couldn't hide her shock. But you live in that modest condo. A unit I keep for family visits, I corrected. My actual residence takes up the top 3 floors of that new tower downtown. The one you called new money trying too hard last month. Why the deception? My father demanded, still staring at the TV headlines. Because you taught me something valuable, I replied, checking my real watch. A Patek Philippe worth more than Amanda's beach house. Success is sweetest when no one sees it coming. The morning after my father's birthday dinner bombshell, I sat in my actual office, the 100th floor of the Mindframe Tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a perfect view of the Golden Harbor Club, where Amanda was probably still processing last night's revelations. Your sister's called 17 times, my executive assistant James reported. Your brother's trying to reach you through LinkedIn, and your mother's already changed her country club bio to mother of tech visionary Sarah Mitchell. I smiled, scanning the morning's headlines on my digital wall. Mindframe's $16 billion acquisition shocks tech world. Sarah Mitchell, the heiress who turned millions into billions. Inside the world's most secretive tech empire. The Wall Street Journal wants an exclusive, James continued. Your brother's investment bank is desperately trying to schedule a meeting, and Amanda's husband Morgan has sent 4 emails about investment opportunities. My phone buzzed, a text from Amanda. Family emergency meeting at mom and dad's. No, this isn't a request. Before I could respond, James's voice came through again. Your mother's in the lobby. He's brought photo albums. I checked the security feed. There stood my mother, clutching old family photos, dressed in her finest, probably hoping to run into press photographers. Send her up. And James? Pull up the Golden Harbor Club ownership documents. Minutes later, my mother entered, faltering as she took in the space. The ultra-modern design, the technology, the clear views of every property I'd acquired while they thought I was failing. Darling, she managed, we had no idea. Clearly, I replied, watching her eyes dart around, probably mentally calculating the office's worth. Though you didn't care much about my ideas when you thought I was just wasting my inheritance. She clutched the photo albums tighter. I brought pictures, for the press, from your childhood. They'll want to know about your early years, your family support. Support. I raised an eyebrow. Like when you told the country club I was still finding myself last month. Or when you suggested I get a real job at Amanda's firm. We were worried about you. Living in that small condo, driving that old car. While building this, I gestured to the empire around us. Every property you see from these windows. I own it. That new tech campus on the river? Even Amanda's precious beach house neighborhood. I acquired it through a shell corporation last week. My phone buzzed, another message from Amanda. Mom's gone to talk sense into you. Don't do anything rash about the club membership. Too late, I murmured, then addressed my mother. The acquisition closes in an hour. I have meetings to prepare for. James will show you out. Sarah, please, she stepped forward, photos spilling onto my desk. We're having a family dinner tonight. To celebrate properly. Amanda's already invited the Reynolds, their sons in venture capital. No, I cut in. Amanda's not inviting anyone to the club. Because effective this morning, the entire board's been replaced. Amazing what you can do when you own something outright. James appeared at the door. The acquisition team is ready, Ms. Mitchell. Thank you, James. I turned back to my mother. Give Dad my best. And Mom? Those photos won't be necessary. Forbes already has an exclusive on how I built this empire while my family was busy underestimating me. As security prepared to escort her out, my phone lit up with a message from Michael. The bank's directors want to meet. We could collaborate, keep it in the family. I laughed, typing back, interesting offer. But I already own 30% of your bank shares. Check tomorrow's announcements. Because this was just the beginning. The acquisition would double Mindframe's value. The real estate holdings would reshape the city. And my family? They were about to learn that sometimes the child they dismissed as irresponsible had actually been choreographing everything all along. The acquisition signing ceremony at Mindframe Tower's Grand Hall buzzed with energy. Tech journalists jostled for position, cameras flashing as I stood in a perfectly tailored Alexander McQueen suit, no more pretending to shop at department stores. "Your family's here," James murmured. "All of them." I glanced toward the media section. There they were, my parents, Amanda, Michael, even Morgan, all dressed like they'd been supporting me all along. Amanda was already networking, probably claiming she'd always believed in her sister's vision. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "We need to talk. Family meeting tonight. The bank's board is very interested in any potential partnerships." I smiled, typing back, "Actually, check your email. Your bank's ownership changed hands an hour ago. Hostile takeover. Guess who's the majority shareholder?" The ceremony screens displayed Mindframe's stats. Acquisition price, $16 billion. Market impact, largest tech deal of the decade. Post-merger valuation, estimated $30 billion. "Ms. Mitchell," a Bloomberg reporter approached, microphone ready. "Your sister Amanda told us she was an early supporter of your vision. Would you say family backing was crucial to your success?" I caught Amanda's flinch in the crowd. "Actually," I replied, loud enough to carry, "I succeeded despite my family's constant criticism. They thought I'd wasted my inheritance. Sometimes the best motivation is proving everyone wrong." Mother's social smile cracked slightly. Michael's banking portfolio nearly slipped from his manicured fingers. 2 minutes to signing, James announced. I stepped to the podium, remembering all the family dinners where they'd mocked my computer hobby. All the holiday gatherings where they'd showcased Amanda's wise investments. All the times Michael had lectured me about responsible money management. 30 seconds. The screens began the countdown. In the crowd, Morgan, who'd rejected my early investment offer as too risky, was frantically checking his Golden Harbor Club membership status on his phone. The documents were signed. Mindframe's value jumped to $35 billion within minutes. The hall erupted. Somewhere in the crowd, my mother was probably planning how to rewrite history in her social circles. "Ms. Mitchell." Reporters swarmed. "How does it feel to become one of the youngest tech billionaires? Your net worth just crossed $20 billion. Any plans to slow down? Will you be upgrading from your modest condo now?" I smiled, adjusting my Cartier watch, the one I'd kept hidden during years of family criticism. Actually, that condo was just for show. Like that old Honda and the secondhand clothes. Success is sweetest when everyone underestimates you. James appeared at my elbow. "Board meeting in 10. And Amanda's trying to schedule a family celebration at the Golden Harbor Club. Tell her the club's closed for renovation," I replied. "Indefinite renovation. Oh, and her beach house? The neighborhood's being rezoned. For my new tech campus." The ceremony screens showed the final numbers. My phone buzzed constantly, distant relatives, old friends, former critics all scrambling to connect. A message from Amanda caught my eye. "The club members are panicking. Please, we can discuss this." "Should have thought about that before spending 3 years mocking my investments," I murmured. As security cleared a path through the media, I caught sight of my father trying to reach the executive area. Time to show him what his irresponsible daughter had really built. The Mindframe executive floor was a testament to everything they'd dismissed. State-of-the-art everything, priceless art and views that made Amanda's beach house look like a pool shed. "Sarah," my father stepped forward, "this is incredible. But surely we can discuss this as a family." "Family?" I laughed softly. "We're only family now because I'm worth billions. Funny how that works." I walked to my window wall, surveying the city I'd reshaped while they thought I was failing. "That inheritance you thought I wasted? I turned it into this. Every building you see, every company you know, every success you mocked, all part of my plan." "But why the deception?" Mother whispered. "Because you taught me something valuable," I turned back. "Success isn't about impressing family. It's about proving them wrong, even if you have to do it in secret while they ridicule your choices." Amanda stepped forward, her socialite training kicking in. About the club membership. Is permanently revoked, I finished. Consider it payback for all those times you bragged about your wise investments while mocking mine. You can't just. Michael started. Actually, I can. And I am. I pressed a button, displaying Mindframe's full portfolio on my digital wall. While you were pitching me mutual funds, I was building this. Every acquisition, every property, every success you were too busy judging to notice. The stock tickers caught everyone's eye, my net worth passing $25 billion. Now, I checked my watch. I have a board meeting. We're discussing which companies to acquire next. James will show you out. Wait, Mother reached for my arm. The Reynolds are hosting a celebration dinner tonight. Everyone who's anyone. Everyone who doubted me? I raised an eyebrow. Everyone who dismissed my dreams. No thanks. My private jet's waiting, Singapore office needs attention. Private jet? Amanda whispered. A fleet of them, I confirmed. Though you probably missed that detail while bragging about your timeshare in the Hamptons. As security arrived to escort them out, Father turned back. Princess, please. We can fix this. No need, I smiled. I already fixed it. Built $1 billion empire, reshaped the entire city, and proved every doubt wrong. But hey, at least now you have something real to brag about at the country club. Oh wait, I own that too. After they left, James brought in the final reports. Acquisitions complete. You're trending worldwide. And your mother's already updated her social media to include proud mother of tech pioneer in her bio. I laughed, remembering all the times she'd avoided mentioning my career at social events. Let her. Success is the best revenge, especially when it comes with the power to reshape their entire world. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Amanda. Family dinner Sunday. Please. We need to make this right. I typed back. Can't make it. Too busy running the empire you said I'd never build. But feel free to discuss my success without me. You've had plenty of practice discussing my failures. Looking out over my city, watching the sun set behind buildings I owned, I smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's succeeding so spectacularly that they have to live with knowing how wrong they were. And I was just getting started.
You know, Yara, you really should consider taking up watercolors now that you'll have all this free time. Juliet's voice cut through the dining room like a blade wrapped in silk. She didn't even look up from her perfectly arranged salmon as she delivered what she probably thought was helpful advice. The crystal chandelier above us caught the light from her diamond tennis bracelet as she gestured dismissively in my direction. My name is Yara, and I was about to become the most expensive mistake the Garrett family ever made. Watercolors, I repeated, setting down my wine glass with deliberate care. How thoughtful of you to think of my future hobbies, Juliet. Heath shifted uncomfortably beside me, his jaw tight. We'd been married for 8 years, and I could read his tales like a children's book. The way he avoided eye contact, the nervous tap of his fingers against his thigh, the slight flush creeping up his neck. He was about to drop a bomb, and his mother was already celebrating. Well, you've never shown much interest in Heath's work, Donald chimed in from the head of the table, his voice carrying that particular brand of condescension that old money perfects over generations. Always seem more interested in those little computer projects of yours. Those little computer projects, I smiled, tasting the irony. If only he knew. Alana laughed, a sound like breaking glass. She sat across from me, perfectly poised in her navy blazer, every inch the corporate queen bee. Oh, I think it's wonderful when women have hobbies. It keeps them busy. The word hobbies hit exactly the way she intended. I'd pitched 3 different business concepts to this family over the years. Each time, they'd listened with the kind of patient smiles you give a child explaining their imaginary friend. Each time, Heath had nodded along before quietly explaining later why it wasn't the right time or too risky for our family's reputation. Speaking of keeping busy, Heath finally spoke, his voice strained. He cleared his throat twice before continuing. There's something I need to tell everyone. The room went silent except for the soft clink of silverware. Juliet set down her fork with theatrical precision. Donald leaned back in his chair like he was settling in for a show. Alana's lips curved into the faintest smile. I already knew. Had known for weeks, actually. The late nights, the sudden business trips, the way he'd started showering immediately when he came home. The way Alana's name had started appearing in his conversations with increasing frequency. Yara and I are getting divorced. There it was. Clean, simple, devastating. Oh, Heath. Juliet's voice dripped with fake sympathy. I'm so sorry to hear that. She wasn't sorry. None of them were. I could see it in their faces. The barely contained relief, the satisfaction of finally being rid of the woman who never quite fit their mold. These things happen, Donald said, already moving on. Better to handle it cleanly, privately. Actually, Heath continued, his voice gaining strength, Alana and I are together now. We're planning to marry next spring. Alana reached across the table and squeezed his hand. I hope everyone can be happy for us. I know this is complicated. Complicated. That was one word for it. Juliet practically glowed. Alana, darling, you know we've always adored you. You're so perfect for Heath. You understand his world. His world? The world I'd been living in for 8 years but apparently never belonged to. Well, I said, standing slowly, I suppose congratulations are in order. The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Yara, Heath started, but I held up my hand. No, really. I'm happy for you both. I looked directly at Alana. You're getting exactly what you wanted. Juliet reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. Yara, dear, we've prepared a little something to help with your transition. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. A severance package. They were giving me a severance package like I was a fired employee instead of a family member. I took the envelope without opening it. How generous. We just want to make sure you land on your feet, Donald said. Find your own path. My own path. If they only knew I'd been building it for 3 years already. I walked around the table, kissed Heath's cheek. He flinched and headed for the door. Yara, Juliet called after me. Do take care of yourself. I paused at the threshold and turned back. They were all watching me with expressions ranging from pity to satisfaction. 8 years of my life, and this was how it ended, with a check and a pat on the head. I smiled then, the kind of smile that should have made them nervous. Don't worry about me, I said. I have a feeling I'm going to do just fine. The envelope sat on my kitchen counter like a loaded gun. I'd been staring at it for 20 minutes, still wearing the black dress I'd chosen specifically because Juliet hated it. Too tight, she'd said once. Too attention-seeking. My phone buzzed. Nora. How did it go? Her voice was careful, like she was talking to someone on a ledge. Exactly as expected. I picked up the envelope, feeling its weight. They gave me severance pay. They what? Like I was an employee they were letting go. Very generous of them, really. Nora was quiet for a moment. She was the only person who knew about Phoenix Consulting, my little computer project that had been quietly generating 6 figures for the past 3 years. While he thought I was playing around with websites, I'd been building a consulting firm that specialized in digital transformation for mid-sized companies. How much? She asked. I tore open the envelope. The check was made out in Juliet's careful script. $50,000. Jesus. I know, right? $50,000 to disappear from their lives forever. I laughed, but it came out sharp. Do you know what I can do with $50,000? Yara, I can leverage it. Use it as collateral for a business loan. Maybe acquire that struggling firm in Portland we've been watching. Slow down. You just got divorced an hour ago. No, I got free an hour ago. I walked to my laptop and opened it. The Phoenix Consulting dashboard loaded, showing our current client roster, revenue projections, and the acquisition targets I'd been tracking. Nora, pull up the Garrett Industries file. Why? Just do it. I heard her typing. Okay, I'm looking at it. What's their debt-to-equity ratio? Yara, what are you thinking? Answer the question. She sighed. It's not great. They're over-leveraged from that expansion into the European market. Why? I smiled at my reflection in the laptop screen. Because I think it's time Phoenix Consulting got more aggressive with our growth strategy. You want to go after Heath's family business? I want to go after a vulnerable company that's ripe for acquisition. The fact that it belongs to my ex-husband's family is just convenient. Nora was quiet for a long moment. This is about revenge. This is about business. Bullshit. I closed the laptop. Fine. It's about both. They spent 8 years treating me like a decorative houseplant. They just paid me to disappear. Well, congratulations. They're about to get exactly what they paid for. Yara, listen to yourself. You're talking about corporate warfare. I'm talking about capitalism. They taught me the rules, Nora. They just never expected me to play by them. My phone rang. Heath. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. Yara, it's me. Look, I know tonight was difficult, but I hope we can handle this maturely. My lawyer will be in touch about the paperwork. And Yara, please don't make this harder than it has to be. I deleted the message. He sounds worried, Nora said. He should be. I opened my laptop again and pulled up the business loan application I'd been working on for months. I need you to run the numbers on a hostile takeover scenario. A what? You heard me. I want to know what it would cost to acquire a controlling interest in Garrett Industries. That would take millions. Phoenix Consulting cleared $2.3 million last year. We have assets, we have credit, and now we have $50,000 in seed money from the Garrett family themselves. I started typing. Plus, I know things about their business that their competitors don't. Like what? Like the fact that their biggest client, Morrison Tech, is unhappy with their service level. Like the fact that 3 of their senior developers are looking for new jobs. Like the fact that Alana's management style has already pissed off half the sales team. How do you know all that? Because I spent 8 years listening to Heath complain about work over dinner. Turns out all those boring conversations were actually corporate intelligence briefings. Nora laughed despite herself. You're insane. I'm motivated. There's a difference. I pulled up Garrett Industries' public financial statements. They think I'm going to fade away quietly, maybe start a little Etsy shop or something. They have no idea what I've been building. And when they find out? I thought about Juliet's condescending smile, Donald's dismissive wave, Alana's perfectly manicured fingers intertwined with my husband's. When they find out, it'll be too late. This could backfire spectacularly. Or it could be the best investment I ever make. I click submit on the loan application. Either way, it beats watercolors. Nora was quiet for a moment. What do you need me to do? Research. I want to know everything about Garrett Industries' vulnerabilities, client relationships, employee satisfaction, cash flow problems, everything. And then we're going to give them exactly what they deserve. 6 months later, I stood in the lobby of the Meridian Hotel, adjusting the emerald green dress I'd bought specifically for tonight's charity gala. The same event where Heath had proposed to me 9 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. You clean up nice for a tech mogul, Nora said, appearing beside me with 2 champagne flutes. Phoenix Consulting has had a good year. I took the glass, scanning the crowd. Speaking of which, did Marcus finalize the Peterson Group acquisition? Signed this morning. That makes 4 companies in 6 months. 4 strategic acquisitions, each one carefully chosen to position us closer to Garrett Industries' client base. The business loan had come through faster than expected. Apparently, a profitable consulting firm with a spotless credit history was exactly what banks wanted to invest in. There they are, Nora murmured. Heath and Alana stood near the silent auction table, looking every inch the power couple. She wore a black cocktail dress that probably cost more than most people's rent, and he had that confident smile he used to charm investors. They were surrounded by the usual crowd of tech executives and old money socialites. "Showtime," I said. We walked over casually, timing it perfectly as the group around them dispersed. "Yara?" Heath's voice cracked slightly. "I didn't expect to see you here. The Children's Hospital fundraiser? I've been coming for years." I smiled warmly. "You look well, Heath. Marriage suits you." Alana stepped closer to him, her hand finding his arm. "Yara, how lovely to see you. How are you adjusting?" "Wonderfully, actually. I've been keeping busy." "Still doing your computer thing?" Heath asked, and I caught the slight condescension in his tone. "Something like that." I sipped my champagne. "Congratulations on the Morrison Tech renewal, by the way. I heard it was touch and go for a while." Heath's smile faltered. Morrison Tech was Garrett Industries' biggest client, and their contract renewal had been a nightmare. "How would I know that?" "Business is good," he said carefully. "I'm sure it is. Though I heard through the grapevine that you lost the Hartwell account last month. That must have stung." Alana's eyes narrowed. "You seem remarkably well informed about our business." "Oh, you know how it is in tech. Everyone talks." I turned to Heath. "I actually ran into David Kim from your development team last week. He mentioned he's exploring new opportunities." Heath went pale. David Kim was their lead developer, and if he was job hunting, that was a problem. "Where did you run into David?" Alana asked. "At a networking event. Phoenix Consulting has been expanding rapidly. We're always looking for top talent." "Phoenix Consulting?" Heath repeated. "My company. We specialize in digital transformation for mid-market firms. It's been quite successful, actually." The silence stretched uncomfortably. I could see the wheels turning in both their heads. "How successful?" Alana asked, her voice tight. "Well, we just closed our 4th acquisition this year. Growing fast, you know how it is." A waiter approached with a tray of hors d'oeuvres. I took a small plate, acting completely casual, while Heath and Alana exchanged glances. "4 acquisitions," Heath said slowly. "That's impressive." "Thank you. We've been particularly focused on companies that serve the enterprise software market. Lots of opportunity there." Alana's grip on Heath's arm tightened. Enterprise software was Garrett Industries' bread and butter. "Yara," she said, her voice saccharine, "it's wonderful that you found something to keep you busy. Freedom can be such a gift, can't it? No more boring corporate dinners, no more pretending to understand business discussions." There it was. The jab I'd been waiting for. "You're absolutely right," I said, smiling brightly. "I'm so much happier now that I don't have to pretend anymore." "Pretend?" Heath asked. "To be interested in other people's businesses when I could be building my own." I finished my champagne. "Speaking of which, I should go mingle. There are some potential clients here tonight." I started to walk away, then turned back as if I'd just remembered something. "Oh, Heath, you might want to have a conversation with your sales team. I heard through the grapevine that morale is pretty low. Something about management changes not going over well." His face went white. 3 of their top salespeople had quit in the past month, all citing issues with Alana's new performance metrics. "How could you possibly know that?" Alana snapped. "Like I said, everyone talks, especially when they're unhappy." I smiled sweetly. "Enjoy the rest of your evening." I walked away, feeling their stares burning into my back. Nora caught up with me near the bar. "That was brutal," she whispered. "That was just the opening move." I set down my empty glass. "Did you see their faces when I mentioned the acquisitions? Alana looked like she wanted to murder you." "Good. Let them wonder what I'm really up to." I pulled out my phone and checked the time. The Peterson Group integration should be complete by Monday. That puts us in direct competition with Garrett Industries for the Blackstone contract. "The $50 million Blackstone contract?" "The very one," I smiled. "I told you this would be fun." The call came on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing Phoenix Consulting's quarterly projections. Unknown number, but I answered anyway. "Ms. Garrett, this is Tristan Stewart. I'm a senior executive recruiter specializing in tech talent. I nearly choked on my coffee. Tristan Stewart, Alana's brother. The same Tristan who'd been at their wedding, who'd given that toast about family loyalty and shared vision. I'm sorry, but I think you have the wrong number. My name is Yara Blackwood. I legally changed it back to my maiden name 3 months ago, but kept using Garrett for business purposes when it suited me. My apologies. I'm actually calling about Phoenix Consulting. I understand you're the owner. I am. What can I do for you, Tristan? We represent several high-level executives who are exploring new opportunities. Your company has caught their attention. I leaned back in my chair, grinning. Really? What kind of executives? Senior developers, project managers, sales directors, people with extensive experience in enterprise software solutions. People from Garrett Industries. It had to be. That's interesting. We're always looking for top talent. Are these individuals currently employed? Yes, but let's say they're open to the right opportunity. I see. And what makes Phoenix Consulting attractive to them? Growth trajectory, company culture, competitive compensation packages. Your reputation in the industry has been quite impressive lately. My reputation. 6 months ago, nobody in tech knew who I was. Now I was poaching talent from my ex-husband's company through his new sister-in-law's brother. The universe had a sense of humor. I'd be happy to discuss opportunities. Can you tell me more about their backgrounds? I'd prefer to do this in person. Are you available for lunch tomorrow? Absolutely. The Copper Kettle at noon? Perfect. I'll send you the profiles beforehand. After he hung up, I immediately called Nora. You're not going to believe this, I said. Try me. Alana's brother just called. He's headhunting for us. What? Tristan Stewart. He's a recruiter, and he wants to set up meetings between Phoenix and several high-level executives who are looking for new opportunities. From Garrett Industries? Has to be. The timing is too perfect. I pulled up our competitor analysis on my screen. Remember how I mentioned their sales team was unhappy? Looks like the problem is spreading. This could be a trap. Or it could be Christmas morning. Either way, I'm taking the meeting. The next day, I arrived at the Copper Kettle 15 minutes early and chose a corner table with a clear view of the entrance. Tristan walked in exactly at noon. Tall, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit that screamed old money. He looked like a male version of Alana, all sharp angles and calculated charm. Ms. Blackwood? He extended his hand. Tristan Stewart. Please, call me Yara. I shook his hand, noting the firm grip and the way his eyes assessed me. Thank you for reaching out. We ordered quickly. Salads for both of us. The kind of power lunch meal that said we were too busy for real food. I'll be direct, Tristan said. I have 3 executives who are interested in Phoenix Consulting, all currently employed at Garrett Industries. Garrett Industries? I kept my voice neutral. I'm familiar with them. Solid company. Solid, yes, but experiencing some internal challenges. What kind of challenges? Management restructuring. New policies that aren't sitting well with long-term employees. The kind of growing pains that make talented people reconsider their options. I nodded sympathetically. That's unfortunate. What positions are we talking about? Senior developer, sales director, and VP of client relations. My heart rate spiked. The VP of client relations managed all of Garrett Industries' major accounts, including Morrison Tech and the Blackstone contract. Impressive backgrounds, I'm sure. The best. Each has over 10 years with the company, deep client relationships, institutional knowledge, proven track records. And they're all looking to leave at the same time? Tristan's smile was thin. Let's just say the new management style isn't universally appreciated. I see. What kind of compensation are they expecting? Competitive base, equity participation, and... He paused. Discretion. Discretion? Non-compete clauses can be complicated. They'd need assurance that their transition would be handled professionally. I almost laughed. He was asking me to help them break their non-compete agreements with my ex-husband's company. Phoenix Consulting has excellent legal counsel. We're very experienced with talent transitions. Good. There's one more thing. He leaned forward. They're particularly interested in your acquisition strategy. Word is you're expanding aggressively. We are. The market is ripe for consolidation. Any particular targets? I met his eyes directly. We're always looking for undervalued companies with strong client bases and growth potential. Companies like Garrett Industries? The question hung in the air like smoke. This was it. The moment where I had to decide how much to reveal. Garrett Industries is an established player, I said carefully. But established doesn't always mean stable. No, it doesn't. He smiled. I think my clients would be very interested in that perspective. When can we meet? This Friday. My office. 2:00. Perfect. I stood to leave, then paused. Tristan, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you know who I am? His smile faltered slightly. I'm sorry. My full name, my background, my connection to Garrett Industries. He was quiet for a long moment. Should I? No, I said, smiling. But you will. I walked out of the restaurant knowing I just lit a fuse. The only question was how long it would take to reach the dynamite. The call came at 6 a.m. on a Monday. Nora's voice was breathless with excitement. It worked. The shell company acquisition went through. We officially own 38% of Garrett Industries. I sat up in bed, fully awake. 38%? The board meeting is this morning at 10. They have no idea what hit them. 3 months of careful maneuvering had led to this moment. Phoenix Consulting had quietly acquired shares through a network of shell companies and investment firms, each purchase small enough to avoid triggering disclosure requirements. The beauty of it was that Garrett Industries was so focused on their operational problems, the talent hemorrhaging, the client defections, the internal chaos, they hadn't noticed the systematic buying of their stock. Are you ready for this? Nora asked. I've been ready for 8 years. I arrived at the Garrett Industries building at 9:45 a.m., wearing my sharpest black suit and carrying a leather portfolio that contained the documents that would change everything. The lobby looked exactly the same as it had during those rare occasions when Heath had brought me to company events. Marble floors, expensive art, the kind of understated luxury that whispered old money. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt like ascending to my own coronation. The boardroom was already full when I walked in. Donald sat at the head of the table, looking older than I remembered. Heath was to his right, Alana beside him. The other board members, faces I recognized from years of the corporate functions, were scattered around the mahogany table. The conversation stopped when I entered. I'm sorry, Donald said, but this is a private board meeting. Actually, I said, taking the empty chair at the far end of the table, I have every right to be here. Heath stood up. Yara, what the hell are you doing? Attending a board meeting of a company I own. I opened my portfolio and pulled out the stock certificates. As of this morning, Phoenix Consulting and its affiliated entities own 38% of Garrett Industries. The silence was deafening. That's impossible, Alana said, her voice sharp. We would have been notified of any major stock purchases. You were. Every purchase was properly filed with the SEC. You just didn't connect the dots. I slid copies of the documentation across the table. Meridian Holdings, Blackstone Ventures, Pacific Investment Group, all subsidiaries of Phoenix Consulting. Donald's face had gone gray. This is a hostile takeover. This is capitalism, I smiled. And according to the corporate bylaws, any shareholder with more than 35% has the right to call for new board elections. You can't do this, Heath said, his voice rising. This company has been in our family for 40 years. And now it's mine. Alana was frantically typing on her phone. I'm calling our lawyers. Go ahead. You'll find everything is completely legal. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city skyline. Though I should mention, 3 of your senior executives will be joining Phoenix Consulting next week, along with the Morrison Tech and Blackstone contracts. What? Donald's voice was barely a whisper. David Kim, Sarah Martinez, and Robert Chen. I turned back to face them. They've already signed their new employment agreements. Non-compete clauses are tricky things. Turns out they're not enforceable when the company violates its own employment policies. Heath slammed his hand on the table. This is revenge. Pure and simple. This is business. You taught me that, remember? All those dinners where you explained how the real world works, how sentiment has no place in corporate decisions. I walked back to my chair. I was listening. The press will crucify you for this, Alana said. A bitter ex-wife destroying her former family's company? The optics are terrible. Are they? Because the story I'm hearing is about a brilliant entrepreneur who built a consulting empire from nothing and then executed a masterful acquisition of an underperforming competitor. I sat down and crossed my legs. The press loves a success story. My phone buzzed. A text from Shanice, my legal advisor. TechCrunch wants an exclusive. Wall Street Journal is calling. Stock price up 12%. Speaking of the press, I said, you might want to check the news. The announcement went live 20 minutes ago. Several board members immediately reached for their phones. I watched their faces change as they read the headlines. Phoenix Consulting acquires controlling interest in Garrett Industries. Tech mogul Yara. Blackwood orchestrates stunning corporate takeover. From startup to empire, the rise of Phoenix Consulting. This will destroy you, Juliet's voice came from the doorway. I hadn't heard her come in, but there she stood, impeccably dressed as always, her face a mask of cold fury. Hello, Juliet. You look well. You vindictive little... Careful, I interrupted. I'm your new boss. The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. I'll fight this, she said. We all will. With what? Your stock is worthless now. Your key employees are gone. Your biggest clients are following them. I stood up and gathered my papers. But please, feel free to try. I walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Heath, you might want to update your LinkedIn. I hear there are some great opportunities in middle management these days. The elevator doors closed on their stunned faces, and I finally allowed myself to smile. Checkmate. The boardroom felt different when I walked in as CEO 3 weeks later. Same mahogany table, same expensive chairs. But now I sat at the head where Donald used to hold court. The power shift was tangible. You could taste it in the air. Thank you all for coming, I said, looking around the table at the faces that ranged from curious to hostile. I know this transition has been unexpected. Tristan sat to my left, still looking shell-shocked from discovering his mysterious client was his sister's ex-sister-in-law. Across from him, 3 remaining board members who'd survived the purge watched me with barely concealed resentment. Before we begin, I continued, I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I was married to Heath. Yes, this acquisition was personal. But personal doesn't mean unprofessional, doesn't it? Margaret Walsh, the longest-serving board member, leaned forward. You've systematically dismantled a 40-year-old company out of spite. I've restructured an underperforming company to maximize shareholder value. The spite was just a bonus. The door burst open. Alana stormed in. Her usually perfect composure cracked. You can't do this. I'm sorry, but this is a closed board meeting. You're no longer... I know exactly what I am. She slammed a folder on the table. I'm the person who's going to expose you for the fraud you are. I glanced at the folder. What's this? Proof that your acquisition was based on insider information. Information you obtained illegally during your marriage. Interesting theory. Do you have evidence? You knew about our client contracts, our employee issues, our financial vulnerabilities, information that wasn't public, information that was discussed at dinner tables, cocktail parties, and family gatherings for 8 years. I opened the folder and scanned the documents. This is all circumstantial. It's enough to trigger an SEC investigation. Go ahead. I welcome the scrutiny. I closed the folder and slid it back to her. While they're investigating, they'll discover that every stock purchase was legal, every business decision was sound, and every piece of information I used was either public or obtained through legitimate business channels. Tristan cleared his throat. Alana, perhaps we should— Don't. She whirled on him. Don't you dare defend her. She played you, Tristan. She used you to recruit our own employees. I used a headhunter to recruit talent. That's called business. You destroyed our family's legacy. Your family destroyed your legacy the moment you decided I wasn't worth listening to. I stood up, walking to the window. 8 years of board meetings where I was treated like furniture. 8 years of business ideas dismissed without consideration. 8 years of being told I didn't understand the real world. So this is revenge. This is justice. I turned back to face her. You want to know what's really satisfying? It's not the money or the power. It's proving that the decorative wife you all mocked was smarter than every single one of you. You're delusional if you think— I think I turned $50,000 into a $100 million company in less than 4 years. I think I identified and exploited every weakness in your business model. I think I'm sitting in the CEO chair while you're standing there unemployed. Alana's face went white. You haven't won yet. Haven't I? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screen. Stock price is up 30% since the acquisition announcement. Client retention is at 95%. Employee satisfaction scores have doubled. That's impossible. Turns out people prefer working for someone who actually listens to them. I sat back down. Which brings me to my next point. I'm offering employment contracts to everyone in this room. The silence was deafening. Generous packages, equity participation, full benefits. I looked directly at Alana. Everyone except the former executive team. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Tristan, you're a talented recruiter. I could use someone with your connections. Margaret, your institutional knowledge is valuable. Everyone else, there's a place for you here if you want it. And if we don't? Margaret asked. Then you don't. But I'd recommend taking some time to think about it. The job market is tough right now, especially for people with complicated references. Alana laughed bitterly. You really think you can buy everyone? I'm not buying anyone. I'm offering opportunities to people who've been undervalued and underutilized. I looked around the table. How many of your ideas were dismissed by the old management? How many times were you told, that's not how we do things here? I saw recognition flicker across several faces. This company was dying, I continued. Slow, bureaucratic, resistant to change. I'm offering you a chance to be part of something dynamic. Something built on revenge, Alana spat. Something built on competence. I stood up again. The contracts are on your desks. You have 48 hours to decide. Alana headed for the door, then stopped. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You just haven't accepted it yet. After she left, the room was quiet, except for the sound of papers rustling as board members examined their employment offers. Yara, Tristan said quietly, what you've done here, it's unprecedented. It's necessary. I gathered my papers. This company was built on the assumption that success comes from connections and legacy. I'm proving it comes from competence and vision. And revenge? I smiled. That's just the cherry on top. The emergency board meeting was called for 2 p.m. on a Friday. I walked into the conference room to find chaos, raised voices, scattered papers, and Alana standing at the head of the table like she owned the place. What's going on here? I asked. Shareholders revolt, Margaret said grimly. Alana's been rallying the minority shareholders. Alana turned to face me, her smile sharp as a blade. Surprise? Turns out not everyone appreciates your hostile takeover tactics. This is my company now. Is it? Because I've been talking to some very concerned investors, people who think Phoenix Consulting's acquisition was built on fraud and manipulation. I looked around the room. Half the board members were avoiding eye contact. The other half looked like they were watching a tennis match. What exactly are you alleging? Insider trading, market manipulation, breach of fiduciary duty. Alana pulled out a thick folder. I've been busy, Yara. Turns out your perfect little acquisition has some very ugly details. Such as the fact that you used privileged information obtained during your marriage to target our company. Such as the fact that you deliberately destabilized our operations to drive down our stock price before buying in. I sat down slowly. You have proof of this? I have testimony from 3 former employees who say you approached them about leaving Garrett Industries 6 months before your acquisition. I have records showing Phoenix Consulting targeted our clients systematically. You have circumstantial evidence and disgruntled ex-employees. I leaned back in my chair. Is that really the hill you want to die on? I have enough to trigger a federal investigation, and I have enough minority shareholders to call for your removal as CEO. The room went silent. Margaret cleared her throat. Alana, what exactly are you proposing? A vote of no confidence. Today. Right now. That's not how this works, I said. I need 30% of outstanding shares to call the vote. I have 32%. Alana's smile was triumphant. Surprise number 2. My phone buzzed. A text from Nora. Emergency. Shareholders meeting in lobby. Press outside. This is bad. There's a shareholders meeting happening downstairs right now, Alana continued. Local news is covering it. Wall Street Journal has a reporter here. Your corporate fairy tale is about to become a very public nightmare. I stood up. Fine, let's go. Yara, Tristan said quietly, maybe you should reconsider. Reconsider what? Defending the company I built? I looked around the room. Anyone who wants to abandon ship is welcome to, but I'm going downstairs to face whatever circus Alana has organized. The elevator ride down felt like descending into hell. When the doors opened, I could see the crowd through the glass lobby doors. Shareholders, reporters, camera crews. Alana had orchestrated a media spectacle. Last chance to settle this quietly, she said as we walked toward the lobby. What are your terms? Resign as CEO. Sell your shares back to the family at cost. Disappear. And if I don't, then I destroy you publicly. Your reputation, your company, your future, all of it. I pushed open the lobby doors. The crowd turned toward us like a pack of wolves scenting blood. Cameras flashed, microphones were thrust forward, and voices shouted questions. Ms. Blackwood, is it true you used insider information to acquire Garrett Industries? Are you responding to allegations of market manipulation? What's your response to calls for your resignation? I walked to the center of the lobby, Alana beside me. The crowd pressed closer. I'll make a statement, I said, my voice carrying over the noise. The crowd quieted. 6 months ago, I was dismissed from this building as a failed wife with no business sense. Today, I stand here as the CEO of a company that's increased in value by 40% since my acquisition. But what about the allegations? A reporter shouted. The allegations are desperate attempts by people who can't accept that they were outmaneuvered by someone they underestimated. I looked directly at Alana. Every stock purchase was legal. Every business decision was strategic. Every move I made was within the bounds of corporate law. You used privileged information. Alana stepped forward. Information you obtained illegally. I used information that was freely shared at family dinners and cocktail parties. Information that anyone paying attention could have gathered. I turned to the cameras. The real question is, why didn't the previous management act on information they had access to for years? Because we trusted you. Alana's composure finally cracked. We treated you like family. You treated me like furniture. There's a difference, the crowd murmured. I could see some of the shareholders nodding. This woman destroyed a 40-year-old family business out of spite, Alana continued. She's a vindictive ex-wife who... I'm a businesswoman who saw an opportunity and took it. I stepped closer to the microphones. Garrett Industries was failing under the old management. Client satisfaction was down. Employee turnover was up. And the stock price was stagnant. I didn't destroy this company. I saved it. The numbers don't lie, Margaret said, stepping forward. Revenue is up 28% since the acquisition. Because she stole our clients, Alana shouted. Because I provided better service, I replied calmly. Because I listened to what clients actually wanted, instead of assuming I knew better. The crowd was shifting. I could feel the momentum changing. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, addressing the shareholders directly, you have a choice. You can side with the people who ran this company into the ground, or you can trust the person who's already proven she can turn it around. All in favor of the no confidence vote? Alana called out desperately. A few hands went up. Not enough. All opposed? A sea of hands rose. Alana's face went white. This isn't over. Yes, I said quietly. It is. The knock on my office door came at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. I looked up from the quarterly report spread across my desk to see Juliet standing in the doorway. She looked smaller somehow, diminished without the armor of her usual social settings. The security guard let me up, she said. I told him I was family. We're family, I corrected, not looking up from my papers. What do you want, Juliet? She walked in uninvited and sat in the chair across from my desk. To talk. About what? Your daughter-in-law's failed coup attempt? Your son's new job at that startup in Portland? Or maybe you want to discuss how I'm ruining the family legacy. About what you've become. That made me look up. What I've become. Cruel. Vindictive. Everything we said you were. I set down my pen. You mean successful? Powerful? Everything you said I'd never be. You've destroyed lives, Yara. Heath can barely find work. Alana's reputation is ruined. Donald's had to sell the house. And you don't care. Should I? I leaned back in my chair. Did you care when you handed me that severance check? Did you care when you spent 8 years treating me like I was invisible? Juliet was quiet for a moment. We underestimated you. You dismissed me. There's a difference. Fine. We dismissed you. We were wrong. She looked around my office. The corner suite that used to be Donald's, with its floor-to-ceiling windows and view of the city. But this isn't justice. This is revenge. It's both. It's made you into someone I don't recognize. I laughed. You never recognized me to begin with. That was the problem. I'm trying to apologize. No, you're trying to make yourself feel better about losing. I stood up and walked to the window. The city sparkled below us, a constellation of ambition and possibility. You're trying to turn me into the villain so you can sleep at night. Aren't you? The question hung in the air. I turned back to face her. Maybe. But I'm a villain who employs 300 people. A villain who's increased shareholder value by 60%. A villain who actually listens when her employees have ideas. A villain who destroyed a family. A family that destroyed itself. I walked back to my desk. You want to know what's really cruel, Juliet? It's watching someone you're supposed to love get smaller and smaller until they disappear. It's dismissing their dreams because they don't fit your vision of who they should be. We made mistakes. You made choices. Every snide comment, every dismissive laugh, every time you talked over me or around me, those were choices. Juliet's composure finally cracked. What do you want from us? What would make this stop? Nothing. Because it's already over. I sat back down. You lost. I won. The story's finished. Then why do you look so miserable? The words hit like a physical blow. I stared at her, this woman who'd spent years perfecting the art of cutting remarks, and realized that she'd finally landed one that mattered. I'm not miserable. I'm successful. You're alone. I'm independent. You're isolated. She leaned forward. When's the last time you had dinner with someone who wasn't a business associate? When's the last time you laughed at something that wasn't someone else's failure? I didn't answer because I couldn't. You won, Yara. You got everything you wanted. But what did it cost you? After she left, I sat in my office as the building emptied around me. The cleaning crew worked quietly in the halls, and the city lights blurred together outside my window. My phone buzzed. A text from Nora. Drinks tonight? You've been working too much. I started to type my usual excuse, then stopped. Deleted it. Typed, yes, but somewhere loud and crowded. I'm tired of quiet. I looked around my office one more time. The awards on the walls, the financial reports showing record profits, the framed magazine covers featuring my face. All the proof I'd needed that I was worth something. But Juliet was right about one thing. Victory was supposed to feel different than this. I grabbed my coat and headed for the elevator. Maybe revenge was a dish best served cold, but success was something you had to share to really taste it. The elevator doors closed on my reflection. CEO, entrepreneur, the woman who turned $50,000 into an empire. The woman who'd proven that the decorative wife was anything but. The woman who finally learned the difference between being powerful and being happy. The doors opened on the lobby, and I stepped out into the night, ready to figure out what came next.
Pass the salt, Valerie, and try not to drop it this time. Grace's voice cut across the mahogany dining table like a blade wrapped in silk. I reached for the crystal shaker, my fingers steady despite the familiar sting of her words. Around me, the Mason family continued their dinner as if nothing had happened, because to them, nothing had. My name is Valerie, and for 8 years, I've been the ghost at this table. Did you see Margaret's daughter got into Harvard? Olivia announced, her fork pausing mid-air as she delivered what I knew was a calculated blow. Such an accomplished young woman really makes you think about what we pass down to the next generation, doesn't it? Mason cleared his throat but said nothing. He never said anything anymore. Some people are born with drive, Kent added, cutting his steak with surgical precision. Others, well, they find their purpose in supporting those who do. I smiled and took a sip of wine. How lovely for Margaret. Grace's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. Oh, Valerie, always so pleasant. Tell me, what did you accomplish today? Besides the grocery shopping, of course. I organized the charity auction materials for your event next week. I kept my voice level, though my free hand found the small locket at my throat, my grandmother's locket, the only thing in this house that truly belonged to me. How domestic of you, Olivia smirked. Though I suppose someone has to handle the busy work while the rest of us focus on the important things. The chandelier above us cast everything in golden light, making the scene look like something from a magazine spread. Perfect family in perfect home with perfect lives, if only they knew. Speaking of important things, Kent said, dabbing his mouth with his napkin. The club dues are coming up again. Substantial increase this year, but maintaining our standing is worth every penny. Absolutely, Grace agreed. Image is everything. People judge you by the company you keep, the places you're seen. It's about legacy. Mason finally spoke. The renovation on the east wing should be finished next month. The contractors say it'll add significant value to the property. Wonderful, I said, though nobody was really talking to me. They were talking around me, through me, as if I were a piece of furniture that occasionally needed to be acknowledged. You know, Valerie, Grace continued, her tone shifting to something that might have sounded motherly to an outsider, I was thinking it might be time for you to consider contributing more to the household, financially speaking. The room went quiet except for the soft clink of silverware against china. I mean, she continued, you've been so comfortable here for so many years. Perhaps it's time to think about earning your keep in a more substantial way. Olivia giggled. Maybe she could get a job at the grocery store. She spends enough time there. Now, Kent said, though his eyes held the same cruel amusement as his daughter's. I'm sure Valerie has skills we haven't discovered yet. Hidden talents, perhaps. I set down my wine glass and looked around the table. Mason was studying his plate like it held the secrets of the universe. Olivia was barely containing her laughter. Grace and Kent wore matching expressions of benevolent condescension. Hidden talents, I repeated softly. Yes, I suppose I do have a few of those. Well, we'd love to hear about them sometime, Grace said with false sweetness. When you're ready to share, of course. The conversation moved on to other topics. The upcoming charity gala, Kent's golf tournament, Olivia's latest shopping expedition to New York. I listened and nodded and played my part, the grateful wife who'd married above her station and should be thankful for the crumbs of acceptance thrown her way. But as I sat there, my fingers working the clasp of my grandmother's locket, I thought about secrets, about hidden talents, about the phone calls I'd been having with Evan, my childhood friend who managed certain financial arrangements for me. You know what? Grace said suddenly, as if struck by inspiration. I think it's almost time for our dear Valerie to really earn her place at this table. The way she said it made my blood run cold. Not because I was afraid, but because I recognized the tone. It was the same one she'd used before every other humiliation she'd orchestrated over the years. Mason's hand tightened around his fork, and for just a moment, our eyes met across the table. In that instant, I saw something that looked almost like guilt. Almost, but not quite enough to matter. The next morning, Grace cornered me in the kitchen while I was loading the dishwasher. Valerie, darling, we need to discuss the arrangements for Saturday's gathering. I looked up from the crystal glasses I was carefully placing in the rack. Of course. What can I do to help? Well, it's quite a special occasion. Kent's business associates will be there, along with some very important families from the club. She paused, studying her manicured nails. We need everything to be absolutely perfect. I understand. Do you? Her voice sharpened slightly. Because this isn't just any dinner party. These are people who matter, Valerie. People who can make or break reputations with a single conversation. Mason walked in, already dressed for work in his expensive suit. He kissed Grace's cheek but barely glanced at me. Morning, Mother. Everything set for Saturday? Just going over the details with Valerie. Grace's smile was razor thin, making sure she understands how crucial this evening is for our family. Good. Mason poured himself coffee from the machine I'd prepared earlier. The Hendersons will be there, and potentially the Blackwells. We can't afford any missteps. The way he said it made it clear who he expected those missteps to come from. I'll make sure everything runs smoothly, I said quietly. See that you do. Mason headed for the door, then stopped. Oh, and Valerie, wear something appropriate. Not that blue dress you wore to the Whitmans' party. After he left, Grace lingered in the kitchen, watching me finish the dishes. You know, dear, I've been thinking about our conversation last night, about you contributing more meaningfully to this family. My hands stilled on the plate I was drying. What did you have in mind? Well, Saturday's gathering might be the perfect opportunity to discuss your future role here. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Kent has some ideas about how you might better serve the family's interests. Before I could respond, Olivia breezed in wearing yoga clothes that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Are we talking about Valerie's big moment? She grabbed a green smoothie from the fridge. This is going to be so interesting. What big moment? I asked. Olivia and Grace exchanged a look that made my stomach clench. Oh, nothing too dramatic, Grace said airily. Just a little clarification of expectations. You'll see. They left me standing in the kitchen, my mind racing. I pulled out my phone and saw a text from Evan. Coffee later, we should talk. I typed back quickly. Can't today, family stuff, but soon. His response came immediately. Everything okay? You sound stressed. I stared at the screen for a long moment before typing. Just the usual Mason family drama. I'll call you after Saturday. Ready when you are, he replied, and something about those 4 words sent a chill down my spine. That afternoon, I found myself in the attic, going through old photo albums. There was one from our wedding, Mason and me looking so young and hopeful. His family stood behind us in the photos, all smiles for the camera, but I remembered how Grace had whispered to Kent during the reception, "Well, at least she's pretty enough. Hopefully she'll learn her place quickly." I'd thought she was joking then. The sound of voices downstairs pulled me from my memories. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened. "Everything's arranged for Saturday," Kent was saying. "Helen will have the papers ready." "And you're sure this is the right approach?" That was Mason, sounding uncertain. "Son, sometimes you have to make difficult decisions for the good of the family," Kent replied. "We've been more than generous, but generosity has its limits." "What if she refuses?" Olivia's voice carried up the stairs. "She won't," Grace said confidently. "Where would she go? What would she do? She has nothing without us." "Still, we should be prepared for resistance," Kent added. "That's why we're doing this publicly. Harder to make a scene when there are witnesses." My blood turned to ice. Whatever they were planning for Saturday, it wasn't going to be pleasant. I spent the rest of the week watching them, the hushed conversations that stopped when I entered a room, the way Mason avoided eye contact, the satisfied smirks Olivia kept throwing my way. Friday night, as I was arranging flowers for the next day's event, my phone buzzed. "Evan, last chance to talk before your big family gathering. Something's got you spooked." I looked around the empty dining room, at the perfectly set table, at the life I'd built that was apparently about to come crashing down. "Tomorrow night," I typed back. "After everything's over, I have a feeling things are about to change." "Ready when you are," came his reply again. This time those words felt like a promise. Saturday's dinner party went perfectly. Too perfectly. The guests praised the food, complimented the decor, and made all the right noises about what a lovely home we had. I played my part, the gracious hostess who smiled and nodded and made sure everyone's wine glass stayed full. But I felt like I was watching myself from outside my body, going through the motions while waiting for the other shoe to drop. "Valerie, dear," Grace appeared at my elbow as I was clearing dessert plates. "Could you join us in Kent's study? There's something we need to discuss." My hands didn't shake as I set down the plates. "Of course. Let me just—" "Now, please." Her voice was steel wrapped in velvet. I followed her down the hallway, past the family portraits that had never included me, toward Kent's study. The door was already open, and I could see people inside. The family was there, Kent behind his massive desk, Mason standing by the window, Olivia perched on the leather sofa with her phone in her hand. But there were others too. A woman I didn't recognize sat in one of the chairs, a briefcase open beside her. A man with a notary stamp waited nearby. "Valerie, come in," Kent said, his voice unusually formal. "I'd like you to meet Helen, our family attorney." The woman stood and extended her hand. "Mrs. Mason, I've heard so much about you." I shook her hand, my eyes scanning the room. Everyone looked nervous except Olivia, who was practically vibrating with excitement. "Please sit down," Helen gestured to the chair across from her. I remained standing. "What's this about?" Kent cleared his throat. "Well, Valerie, as you know, this family has certain responsibilities, obligations to maintain our standing, our legacy." "Okay. And sometimes," Grace added, moving to stand beside her husband, "difficult decisions must be made to protect what we've built." Helen opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick stack of papers. "Mrs. Mason, we need you to sign these documents." "What are they?" "A relinquishment of your marital rights to this property," Helen said matter-of-factly. "In the event of divorce or separation, you would have no claim to the family home or its contents." The words hit me like a physical blow. I looked around the room, at Kent's satisfied expression, at Grace's cold smile, at Mason who was staring out the window like a coward. You want me to sign away my rights to my own home? It's not really your home though, is it? Olivia piped up, her phone now openly recording. I mean, you didn't pay for it. You didn't earn it. Olivia, Mason said sharply, but he still wouldn't look at me. What? It's true. She shrugged. We're just protecting family assets. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal? I laughed, and the sound was bitter even to my own ears. You ambush me with lawyers and notaries after a dinner party, and it's nothing personal? Valerie, Kent's voice was patronizing, you're being dramatic. This is simply a precautionary measure. Good families protect their wealth. Their wealth, I repeated slowly. Yes, Grace said firmly. Mason's inheritance, the family trust, generations of careful planning. We can't have it all disappear because of unfortunate circumstances. Helen pushed the papers toward me. If you could just sign here and initial there. I looked down at the documents, pages and pages of legal language, but the meaning was crystal clear. They wanted me to have nothing, to be nothing. And if I refuse? The room went silent. Kent and Grace exchanged a look. Well, Kent said slowly, that would be unfortunate for everyone involved. People might start asking questions, Grace added, about why you're being so unreasonable, about what you might be hiding. Are you threatening me? We're protecting our family, Kent said, by any means necessary. Mason finally turned from the window. His face was pale, his hands trembling slightly. Valerie, please, just sign the papers. It doesn't have to be difficult. I stared at my husband, this man I'd loved, supported, stood by for 8 years. The man who was now asking me to sign away my security, my future, my dignity. You're not going to defend me, are you? I asked him quietly. He opened his mouth, then closed it. His silence was answer enough. I walked over to the desk and picked up the pen. The room held its collective breath. You know what? I said, looking around at their expectant faces. Thank you. Thank you? Grace frowned. Yes, I signed my name with a flourish on every page, every line, every initial. Thank you for finally showing me exactly who you all are. I set the pen down and smiled at their confused expressions. This has been incredibly clarifying. Helen gathered the papers quickly. Well, that's all we need. I walked toward the door, then paused and turned back. Oh, and Grace, you're absolutely right about one thing. Good families do protect their wealth. The look of triumph on her face made what was coming next even sweeter. I went straight to my bedroom and locked the door. My hands were steady as I pulled out my laptop and opened my email. The cursor blinked in the empty message field. I typed Evan's address and paused, my fingers hovering over the keys. Then I wrote, "It's time. Dissolve everything. Transfer it all to the new account we discussed. Do it tonight." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. My phone rang within minutes. "Val, are you sure about this?" Evan's voice was concerned but not surprised. We'd talked about this possibility for months. "I'm sure." What happened? I told him about the ambush, the papers, the lawyers, about Mason's silence and Olivia's smirking phone recording. "Jesus, Val, I'm sorry." "Don't be. You warned me this might happen eventually." "I did, but I hoped I was wrong." He paused. "You know there's no going back from this, right? Once I dissolve the trust." "I know. The family will lose everything, the house payments, the club memberships, Olivia's credit cards, Kent's business expenses. All of it was coming from your grandmother's trust." "I know," I repeated. "They have no idea, do they?" I laughed and it felt good. "None whatsoever." "How long do you want me to give them? How long will it take for everything to bounce?" The automatic payments will start failing Monday morning. Credit cards will be declined by Tuesday. The club will probably call about overdue fees by Wednesday. Perfect. Val, Evan's voice was gentle. Are you okay? Really? I looked around the bedroom I'd shared with Mason for 8 years, at the photos on the dresser of happier times that now felt like lies, at the jewelry box full of gifts that were probably bought with my own money. I'm better than okay, Evan. I'm free. After we hung up, I made myself a cup of tea and sat in the kitchen. The house was quiet. The family had probably gone to celebrate their victory with expensive brandy in Kent's study. My laptop chimed with email notifications, confirmations from the bank, transfer receipts, account closures, $43 million, moving from one account to another with a few clicks. My grandmother's fortune, carefully invested and grown over the years, finally coming home to me. I thought about the day she died, how she'd gripped my hand with surprising strength. Promise me something, Valerie, she'd whispered. Don't let anyone take advantage of your kindness. The money is yours, but keep it secret until you're sure who deserves your trust. I promise, Grandma. And if anyone ever tries to make you feel small, remember, you have the power to choose your own path. I'd kept that promise for 5 years. Through every snide comment, every dismissive look, every moment of being treated like hired help in my own home. My phone buzzed with a text from Mason. Where are you? Come have a drink with us. I typed back, I'm tired. Going to bed early. Don't be upset about tonight. It's just business. Just business. 8 years of marriage reduced to a business transaction. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop again and started making lists. Things I'd need to do, places I'd need to go, people I'd need to call. My new life was going to require planning. Around midnight, I heard Mason come upstairs. He tried the bedroom door, found it locked. Val, come on, open up. I didn't answer. Look, I know tonight was difficult, but you have to understand, my family has expectations, responsibilities. Still nothing from me. We can talk about this tomorrow, okay? When you've had time to process everything. His footsteps retreated down the hall toward the guest room. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me. In a few hours, the sun would rise on a very different world for the Mason family. My phone lit up with one final message from Evan. It's done. All accounts closed, trust dissolved, funds transferred. Sweet dreams, Val. I smiled in the darkness and closed my eyes. For the first time in years, I slept peacefully. Sunday morning, I woke up early and made coffee. The house was still quiet, the family probably sleeping off their celebration from the night before. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, watching the morning news, waiting. At 8:47 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Mason? This is David from First National Bank. I'm calling about some irregularities with your family's accounts. I smiled and took a sip of my coffee. I'm sorry, but you'll need to speak with my husband about that. This is his family's business, not mine. The show was about to begin. By Monday morning, the cracks were already showing. I was in the kitchen making breakfast when Olivia stormed in, still in her pajamas, waving her phone like a weapon. My card got declined at Starbucks. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Grace appeared behind her, fully dressed but looking frazzled. The bank called 3 times this morning, something about insufficient funds, which is ridiculous. Mason rushed in, already dressed for work, his tie crooked. Has anyone seen my briefcase? I can't find... He stopped when he saw his mother and sister. What's wrong? Everything's wrong, Olivia snapped. My credit cards aren't working. Mom's having issues with the bank, and the automatic payment for my car lease bounced. That's impossible, Mason said, but his voice wavered. I'll call the bank. I already did, Grace said sharply. They want to speak with you immediately, something about the trust account. I continued scrambling eggs, keeping my expression neutral. Trust account? The family trust, Kent said, walking in with the morning paper. His usual confident demeanor was cracked around the edges. There seems to be some sort of technical error. Technical error? Mason grabbed his phone. I'm calling them right now. He dialed, pacing the kitchen while it rang. Yes, this is Mason. I need to speak with someone about our accounts immediately. What do you mean closed? That's impossible. No, I'll be right there. He hung up, his face pale. They want to see us, all of us, this morning. This is ridiculous, Grace said, but I caught the tremor in her voice. We've banked with them for 30 years. Maybe it's just a computer glitch, Olivia said, though she didn't sound convinced. Kent folded his newspaper with sharp, angry movements. Computer glitch or not, we need answers, and we need them now. The phone rang again. Mason answered it immediately. Hello? What? No, that can't be right. Yes, I understand. We'll be in touch. He hung up and looked around the room with growing panic. That was Rory from the club. Our membership dues are 3 months overdue. He says if we don't pay by Friday, they're suspending our membership. 3 months? Grace's voice pitched higher. That's impossible. The payments are automatic. Apparently not anymore, Mason said grimly. I plated the eggs and set them on the counter. Anyone want breakfast? They all stared at me like I'd suggested we have a picnic during a hurricane. How can you think about food right now? Olivia demanded. Because getting upset won't fix whatever's wrong with your accounts, I said calmly. You should probably get to the bank. You're coming with us, Kent said firmly. Why? You made it very clear on Saturday that family finances aren't my concern. Don't be difficult, Valerie, Grace snapped. This affects all of us. Does it? I took a bite of my eggs. I signed away my rights to everything, remember? This is your family's business now. Mason stared at me with something that might have been suspicion. Valerie, what do you know about this? About what? Your banking problems? Nothing at all. Then why are you being so calm? I shrugged. What's the point of panicking? Either it's a mistake that can be fixed, or it's not. Getting hysterical won't change anything. The doorbell rang, cutting through the tension. Mason went to answer it, returning with a nervous-looking young man in a suit. This is James from the bank, Mason said. He wanted to speak with us in person. James clutched a folder to his chest. I'm sorry to bother you at home, but given the unusual circumstances, my manager thought it would be best to handle this delicately. What unusual circumstances? Kent demanded. Well, sir, it appears that all of your accounts were funded by a single trust, and that trust was dissolved over the weekend. The kitchen went dead silent. Dissolved? Grace's voice was barely a whisper. Yes, Mom. The trust holder exercised their right to terminate the arrangement and transfer all assets to a different account. Who? Mason's voice was hoarse. Who was the trust holder? James opened his folder and consulted a document. The trust was established by Eleanor Kelly in 2018, with full control granted to her heir upon her death. The current holder is, he looked up, Valerie Kelly Mason. You could have heard a pin drop. All eyes turned to me. I finished my eggs and set down my fork. Oh, I said pleasantly. I guess that would be me. Olivia's phone slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor. You? Mason stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Apparently so. But how? Grace stammered. I stood up and rinsed my plate in the sink. Well, I suppose we should all go to the bank and sort this out, shouldn't we? The look of dawning horror on their faces was everything I'd hoped it would be. The bank manager's office felt like a funeral parlor. We sat in a semicircle of leather chairs while Mr. Peterson spread documents across his mahogany desk like he was dealing cards. As I explained over the phone, Peterson said, adjusting his glasses, the Eleanor Kelly Trust was the sole funding source for all Mason family accounts. Kent leaned forward, his knuckles white as he gripped his chair arms. That's impossible. Our family has had wealth for generations. Peterson pulled out a thick file. I'm afraid the records show otherwise, Mr. Mason. Every mortgage payment, every credit line, every investment account, all funded by transfers from the Kelly Trust. How much? Mason's voice cracked. The trust held approximately $43 million before its dissolution. Grace made a strangled sound. Olivia just stared at the ceiling like she was praying. And this trust belonged to... Peterson looked at me. Mrs. Mason's grandmother? That's correct, I said quietly. You knew? Mason turned to me, his face a mask of betrayal and shock. All this time you knew? I knew my grandmother left me money, yes. $43 million, Olivia shrieked. You've been sitting on $43 million While you what? I asked calmly. While you called me worthless? While you made me sign away my rights to my own home? Your home? Kent's voice was dangerous. That house belongs to this family. Peterson cleared his throat. Actually, sir, the mortgage payments came directly from the trust. Technically, Mrs. Mason has been paying for the house for the past 5 years. The silence that followed was deafening. Show them, I said to Peterson. He pulled out another stack of papers. These are the payment records: mortgage, property taxes, insurance, utilities, club memberships, credit card payments, car leases, even grocery bills, all paid through automatic transfers from the Kelly Trust. Grace's face had gone completely white. The club memberships? Yes, ma'am, the country club, the yacht club, the tennis club, all funded by the trust. My car? Olivia whispered. Lease payments, insurance, maintenance, all trust funded. Mason looked like he was going to be sick. The business expenses, the client dinners, the office rent, all of it, Peterson confirmed. Kent stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This is some kind of mistake. Our family has money, real money, investments, properties. Sir, I've been your family's banker for 15 years. Without the trust transfers, your combined assets total approximately $12,000 in checking accounts. 12,000? Grace's voice was barely audible. That's not possible, Mason stammered. The inheritance from my grandfather, the family investments, were liquidated years ago to cover debts, Peterson said gently. The trust transfers began shortly after Mrs. Mason joined the family. They've been your primary source of income ever since. I watched their faces as the truth sank in. The horror, the disbelief, the dawning realization that everything they thought they knew about their lives was a lie. Why? Mason turned to me, his eyes pleading. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That I was paying for everything while you treated me like hired help? That I was funding your lifestyle while you called me worthless? We didn't know. You didn't want to know, I said firmly. You were happy to take the money as long as you could pretend it came from somewhere else. Peterson pulled out a new checkbook and slid it across the desk to me. Mrs. Mason, your new account is active. Would you like to discuss your options going forward? I picked up the checkbook, feeling its weight. What are my options? Well, you could reinstate the trust, establish new payment arrangements, or... He paused delicately. You could maintain complete control over your assets. Complete control, I repeated. Yes, the money is yours to do with as you please. Grace suddenly lurched forward. Valerie, please, we can work this out. We're family. Are we? I looked around the room. Because on Saturday night, you made it very clear that I'm not really part of this family. That was a mistake, Kent said quickly. A misunderstanding. Was it? Because Olivia recorded the whole thing on her phone. Would you like me to refresh your memory about what you all said? Olivia's face flushed red. I deleted that video. Did you? Because I'm pretty sure it automatically backed up to the cloud. Mason reached for my hand. Val, please. We can fix this. We can make this right. I pulled my hand away. Can you make right 8 years of treating me like I was nothing? Can you undo Saturday night? We'll do anything, Grace said desperately. Anything you want. I stood up, clutching the checkbook. What I want is for you to understand what it feels like to have nothing, to be nothing, to depend on someone else's charity. Peterson cleared his throat. Mrs. Mason, shall I close the remaining accounts? I looked at each of them. Kent with his broken pride, Grace with her desperate fear, Olivia with her shattered entitlement, and Mason with his pathetic pleading. Yes, I said quietly. Close them all. The sound Olivia made was barely human. Valerie, you can't do this, Mason said, standing up. You can't destroy our entire family over one mistake. One mistake? I laughed. This wasn't one mistake, Mason. This was 8 years of mistakes. 8 years of you letting them treat me like garbage while I paid for everything. I walked toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and the house? The one you made me sign away my rights to? The mortgage is 3 months behind as of today. You have 30 days before foreclosure proceedings begin. I left them sitting there in their expensive clothes, in their borrowed lives, finally understanding what they'd lost and what they'd never really had to begin with. They followed me out of the bank like lost children. Valerie, wait! Mason caught up to me in the parking lot. We need to talk about this. I kept walking toward my car, the modest Honda I'd bought with my own small savings account, not the luxury vehicles they drove that I'd apparently been paying for. There's nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about? Grace's voice was shrill behind me. You just destroyed our entire family. I turned around to face them. All 4 of them stood there in their designer clothes, looking like their world had just ended, which I suppose it had. I destroyed your family? Really? You know what I mean? Grace snapped, but her usual venom was replaced by panic. No, I don't think I do. Explain it to me. Kent stepped forward, trying to summon his old authority. Valerie, you're being vindictive. This isn't like you. Isn't it? How would you know what I'm like? You've spent 8 years treating me like furniture. That's not true, Mason said weakly. Isn't it? I pulled out my phone. Should I play Olivia's video from Saturday night? The one where you all made it crystal clear what you think of me? I told you, I deleted that. Olivia's voice cracked. From your phone, maybe, but cloud storage is forever. I held up my phone. Would you like to hear Grace calling me a simple housewife with no ambition, or Kent explaining how I need to earn my keep? We were protecting family assets, Kent said desperately. Whose assets, Kent? Because apparently they were my assets all along. Mason grabbed my arm. Val, please, I love you. We can work through this. I looked down at his hand on my arm, then back at his face. You love me? You love me so much that you stood there silent while your family humiliated me? You love me so much that you asked me to sign away my security? I was trying to keep the peace. You were being a coward. I shook off his grip. You've been a coward for 8 years, Mason. Every time they insulted me, every time they dismissed me, every time they made me feel small, you said nothing. I didn't know about the money. The money doesn't matter. My voice rose, and I saw other people in the parking lot turning to look. This isn't about money, Mason. This is about respect. This is about how you let your family treat your wife. Grace stepped closer, her mask of superiority finally cracking. Valerie, please. We made mistakes, but we're family. Families forgive each other. Are we family, Grace? Because on Saturday you made it very clear that I'm not really a Mason, that I don't belong, that I'm just some charity case you've been tolerating. That's not what we meant. That's exactly what you meant. I looked at each of them. You want to know the truth? I've been waiting for this moment for years, waiting for you to push me too far, waiting for you to show your true colors. You planned this, Kent said, his voice filled with dawning horror. I prepared for it. There's a difference. I smiled coldly. My grandmother warned me about people like you, people who would take advantage of my kindness and mistake it for weakness. Your grandmother, Olivia spat. That bitter old woman poisoned you against us from the beginning. My grandmother was the only person who ever truly loved me. Unlike this family, she wanted me to be strong, to stand up for myself. So, you're going to let us lose everything? Mason's voice broke. The house? The club memberships? Everything we've worked for? Everything you've worked for? I laughed, and it sounded harsh even to my own ears. Mason, you haven't worked for anything in 8 years. None of you have. You've been living off my inheritance while treating me like I was worthless. We'll change, Grace said desperately. We'll treat you better. We'll include you more. Include me in what? In my own life? In decisions about my own money? I shook my head. It's too late for that, Grace. Please, Mason whispered. Don't do this. Don't destroy us. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man I'd married, the man I'd loved, the man who'd stood by and watched his family tear me apart piece by piece. I'm not destroying you, Mason. I'm just stopping the payments. If that destroys you, maybe you should ask yourself what you built your life on. I got in my car and rolled down the window. Oh, and one more thing. I'm filing for divorce. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. As I drove away, I could see them in my rearview mirror, standing in the parking lot like survivors of a natural disaster, finally understanding that their perfect world had been built on sand, and that the tide had finally come in. The coffee shop was busy, filled with the usual Tuesday morning crowd. I sat in the corner booth, watching Evan approach with 2 lattes and a satisfied grin. So, he said, sliding into the seat across from me, I heard the Mason house went into foreclosure yesterday. Did it? I sipped my coffee, trying to look innocent. Don't play coy with me, the whole town's talking about it. Kent Mason working at the hardware store, Grace cleaning houses, Olivia moved back in with her parents. He leaned forward. How does it feel? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Aunt Valerie? It's Hazel. Can we talk? I showed Evan the screen. Mason's niece. She's 17. The one who was always nice to you? The only one. I typed back. Of course. When and where? Now? I'm outside the coffee shop. I looked up and saw her through the window, tall, awkward, clutching a backpack like a lifeline. She looked nothing like the rest of the Mason family. There was something genuine about her that they'd never managed to crush. Send her in, I told Evan. Hazel approached our table nervously, her eyes red-rimmed like she'd been crying. Hi, Valerie. She glanced at Evan uncertainly. This is Evan, my friend. You can talk freely. I gestured to the empty chair. Sit. She perched on the edge of the seat like she might bolt at any moment. I wanted to apologize. For my family. For everything they did to you. Hazel, you don't need to. Yes, I do. Her voice was stronger now. I was there Saturday night. I saw what they did. It was horrible. Evan raised an eyebrow but said nothing. I tried to tell my mom it was wrong, but she said I didn't understand family business. Hazel's hands twisted in her lap. But I do understand. They treated you terribly, and you were paying for everything the whole time. How much do you know? Everything. Mom's been crying for days, talking about how we're going to lose the house, how I might not be able to go to college. She looked up at me with eyes that reminded me of Mason when I first met him. before his family poisoned him. But that's not your fault. That's theirs. What do you want from me, Hazel? Nothing. The answer came quickly, firmly. I just wanted you to know that not everyone in the family is like them. And I wanted to ask, when you're ready, if maybe we could still be friends. Not because of money or anything like that. Just because I always liked you. Something tight in my chest loosened. I'd like that. Really? Really, but I have one condition. Her face fell. What? You have to promise me you won't let them turn you into them. Don't let their bitterness poison you. I won't. I'm going to community college in the fall, getting my own job, my own life. She smiled for the first time since sitting down. I don't want to be like them. After Hazel left, Evan studied my face. You're not done, are you? What do you mean? The revenge. You could have destroyed them completely, but you didn't. You left them with just enough to survive. I thought about it. I didn't want to destroy them. I wanted them to understand what it feels like to have nothing, to depend on others, to be dismissed and looked down on. And now? Now they know. I pulled out my phone and showed him a news article. Local family loses fortune in trust dispute. The photo showed Kent in his hardware store apron, looking defeated. The whole town knows their perfect life was built on someone else's money. That's worse than being broke. That's being humiliated. So, what's next for Valerie Kelly? I smiled at the use of my maiden name. I'm buying a house, small, cozy, completely mine. I'm thinking about going back to school, maybe starting that nonprofit I always dreamed about. And Mason. Mason made his choice 8 years ago. He chose them over me, over and over again. The divorce papers were served this morning. My phone rang. Mason's name on the screen. Aren't you going to answer? I declined the call and turned off the phone. I've heard everything he has to say. Any regrets? I thought about the question seriously, about the years of marriage, the dreams we'd shared, the life I'd thought we were building together. You know what? No regrets. I finished my coffee and stood up. They showed me exactly who they were, Evan. I just finally decided to believe them. And now? Now I get to find out who I am when I'm not trying to earn someone else's approval. I left the coffee shop and walked into the sunshine, my grandmother's locket warm against my chest. For the first time in 8 years, I had nowhere I had to be, no one I had to please, no role I had to play. I was finally free to write my own story. And it was going to be a good one.
I thought I knew what betrayal felt like until the morning my husband told me we were broke. My name is Avery, and I'm about to tell you how I discovered that the people you trust most can destroy you with a smile on their face. It was a Tuesday. Kyle sat across from me at our kitchen table, his coffee growing cold as he stared at his hands. The morning light made him look older somehow, shadows pooling under his eyes. Ave, we need to talk. Those 4 words, you know the ones. They hit like ice water in your veins. What's wrong? I set down my mug, already knowing I didn't want to hear this. The investment, the one I told you about last month, the tech startup Prince recommended. My stomach dropped. Kyle, no. It's gone. All of it. He finally looked up and I saw something that made my blood freeze. Not devastation, not panic, just resignation. Like he'd already accepted it. Our entire savings account, $68,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. $68,000, my inheritance from Mum, carefully saved over 3 years. The down payment for our dream house, our safety net. How? The word came out as a whisper. The company folded overnight. Some kind of fraud investigation. Prince said. Prince said? I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. You trusted Prince with our entire future? Kyle's jaw tightened. He's on the board at my company, Alv. He knows what he's talking about. New, past tense. Because now we have nothing. We'll figure it out. I'll pick up extra hours. Maybe I could what? Work myself to death to fix your mistake? The silence stretched between us. Outside, I could hear our neighbour starting his car, heading off to his normal Tuesday, where his world hadn't just imploded. Kyle reached across the table. Ave, I'm sorry, I pulled my hand away. You thought wrong. That afternoon, I sat in my car outside the jewellery store, holding Mom's pearl necklace, the one she wore to my wedding, the one she said would be mine someday, to pass down to my own daughter. The appraiser barely looked up. Cultured pearls, I can give you $400. $400 for a piece of my mother's soul? Fine. I walked out with cash in my pocket and a hole in my chest where my heart used to be. By evening, I'd applied for a second job at the diner downtown. Night shifts Thursday through Sunday. The manager, a tired woman named Rita, looked me up and down. You sure about this, honey? Night shift's rough. Drunk college kids, truckers, all kinds of characters. I'm sure. When can you start? Tonight? Kyle was watching TV when I got home, some mindless sitcom laugh track filling our living room. He looked up when I walked in. Where were you? Getting us a second income. I dropped the jewellery store receipt on the coffee table. Mum's pearls bought us groceries for 2 weeks. His face went white. Ave, you didn't have to... Yes, I did. Because apparently I'm the only one taking this seriously. The next morning, Lorelei called. Kyle's mother had a way of making every conversation feel like a performance review I was failing. Avery, dear, Kyle told me about your situation. Your situation. Like it was something I caught, not something her son had done to us. It's temporary, Lorelei. Of course it is. Though I do hope you're not being too hard on Kyle. Men sometimes make mistakes when they're trying to provide for their families. I gripped the phone tighter. Mistakes? Investment risks are part of business, dear. Perhaps if you'd been more involved in the financial decisions. The implication hung in the air like smoke. This was somehow my fault for not watching him closely enough. I have to go, Lorelei. Work calls. Oh yes, Kyle mentioned your working nights now. How industrious of you. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. That evening, Gabriella came over with Chinese takeout and wine. My best friend since high school, she'd always been able to read me like a book. You look like hell, she said, settling onto my couch. Thanks. Really what I needed to hear. I'm serious, Ave. When's the last time you slept? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't remember. Gabriella poured wine into 2 mismatched glasses. Tell me everything. From the beginning. So I did. The whole story spilled out between bites of lo mein and sips of cheap Chardonnay. Kyle's confession, the jewellery store, Lorelei's passive-aggressive phone call, my new job slinging hash at 2 a.m. Something doesn't add up, Gabriella said when I finished. What do you mean? This Prince guy. Kyle's known him for what, 6 months? And he trusted him with your entire savings? Kyle's always been too trusting. No, Alv. Kyle's always been careful with money. Remember when you wanted to splurge on that vacation to Italy? He made spreadsheets. Plural. She was right. Kyle researched everything to death. He'd spent 3 weeks comparing coffee makers before buying our current one. Maybe he panicked, I said. I felt pressure to make a big move. Gabriella shook her head. Or maybe there's more to this story. Later that night, after she left, I sat at my laptop staring at our online banking. Something nagged at me, a splinter in my brain I couldn't quite reach. I scrolled through our transaction history looking for the withdrawal. $68,000 should leave a mark, right? A clear record of where our life went wrong. But what I found made my blood run cold. There it was. A withdrawal for $68,000 dated 3 weeks ago, but underneath it, something that made no sense. A deposit. Same day, same amount. Then another withdrawal, different amount, 2 days later. My hands shook as I clicked for more details. The deposit came from an account I didn't recognise. The second withdrawal went to the same unknown account. Kyle hadn't lost our money in a bad investment. He'd moved it, hidden it, and then he'd lied to my face about it. I stared at that screen until my eyes burned, but the numbers didn't change. Kyle had lied. The question was why. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay next to him listening to his steady breathing, wondering how someone could sleep so peacefully after destroying their wife's life. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those bank transactions dancing behind my eyelids. By Thursday, I was running on fumes and spite. My first night shift at the diner had been exactly as brutal as Rita warned. Drunk college kids throwing up in the bathroom, truckers hitting on me while their coffee went cold, and a steady stream of humanity at its worst between midnight and dawn. I dragged myself home at 6 a.m, every muscle screaming. Kyle was already gone for work, leaving behind a sink full of dishes and a note. "Thanks for everything you're doing. Love you. Love you." Right. I fell into bed and managed 3 hours of sleep before my phone buzzed. A text from my sister-in-law, Sadie. "OMG, check Vanessa's Instagram story. So exciting." I almost ignored it. Sadie's drama usually involves some new designer purse or restaurant she couldn't actually afford. But something made me open Instagram. Vanessa's story was a parade of luxury. Champagne flutes, marble countertops, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The kind of apartment that cost more per month than I made in 3. Celebrating my bestie's new place. Vanessa's voice chirped over the video. "Sadie, you're living the dream." The camera panned to show Sadie raising a glass, her smile wide and satisfied. Sometimes good things happen to good people. I sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. The apartment was gorgeous, modern, expensive. The kind of place Sadie had always talked about wanting, but could never afford, on her part-time boutique job. I screenshotted everything before the stories disappeared. Then I went back through Vanessa's older posts. There was Sadie at a spa day 2 weeks ago. Sadie with shopping bags from Nordstrom last weekend. Sadie at some fancy steakhouse Tuesday night. Tuesday night, the same day Kyle told me we were broke. My hands shook as I scrolled further back. The timeline was damning. For the past month, while I'd been stressed about our finances, Sadie had been living like a lottery winner. I called Gabriella. "Ave? You sound terrible." "I need you to look at something." I sent her the screenshots. "Tell me what you see." A pause. "Holy shit. When did Sadie get rich?" "That's what I want to know." "This apartment. I looked at places in this building last year. The cheapest unit was $4,000 a month. 4,000. More than Kyle and I spent on rent, utilities and groceries combined. There's more," I said, and told her about the bank transactions. "You need to confront him." "With what?" "Screenshots of his sister's Instagram. He'll say she got a new job or a loan or... Then get proof. Real proof." That evening, Kyle came home with flowers. Grocery store daisies wilted around the edges, but he presented them like they were roses from a fancy florist. "For my hard-working wife." I took them without smiling. "How was work?" "Same old. Prince asked about you, actually. Said he felt terrible about the investment thing." "I bet he did." Kyle studied my face. "You okay? You seem... off." "I'm tired. Working 2 jobs will do that." "I know, and I appreciate..." "Kyle." I set the flowers on the counter. "I saw Sadie's new apartment." Something flickered across his face. Too quick to catch, but I saw it. "What apartment?" "The one Vanessa posted all over Instagram. Marble countertops, city views, champagne celebration. Ring any bells?" "Oh, that." He shrugged, but his shoulders were tense. "She got a roommate situation, splitting costs with some friend. Must be a generous friend. That place costs more than we make." What are you getting at?" I pulled out my phone, showed him the screenshots. "I'm getting at the fact that your sister is living like a millionaire while I'm selling my mother's jewellery to buy groceries." Kyle barely glanced at the screen. "You're being paranoid." "Am I?" "Yes. Sadie's always been good at making things look better than they are. You know how she is with social media. So she's faking it. She's embellishing, like always." But his voice had that careful quality it got when he was choosing his words too precisely, like when he told me about the investment. "Kyle, look at me." He did, but his eyes kept darting away. "Is there something you're not telling me about Sadie's situation?" "No." "God, Ave, why would there be?" "Because your sister went from broke to rich overnight, and you went from responsible to reckless overnight, and the timing seems pretty fucking convenient." "You're being crazy." "Don't call me crazy." Then stop acting like it. His voice rose, and I saw a flash of something ugly in his expression. I made a mistake with the investment. A stupid, terrible mistake. But that doesn't mean there's some conspiracy involving my sister. I never said conspiracy. You're implying it. You're looking for someone to blame besides me. Maybe because you're lying to me. Kyle slammed his hand on the counter. I'm not lying. Jesus Christ, Avery, I told you what happened. I'm sorry it happened, but I can't change it. Can we please just move forward? Move forward? Kyle, we have nothing left to move forward with. We have each other, do we? The question hung in the air between us. Kyle's face went pale. What's that supposed to mean? It means I don't know who you are anymore. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he grabbed his keys from the counter. I'm going for a drive. Maybe when I get back, you'll be ready to have a rational conversation. The door slammed behind him, rattling the cheap daisies in their grocery store wrapper. I stood alone in our kitchen, surrounded by the wreckage of our life, and pulled out my phone. I had Gabriella's number halfway dialed when my email chimed. The subject line made my heart stop. Congratulations on your new property purchase. I opened it with shaking fingers. It was from a real estate agent, thanking Kyle for choosing their services and confirming the successful closing on a luxury condo. The address matched Sadie's new apartment exactly. I screenshotted that email so fast, my phone nearly slipped from my shaking hands. Then I read it again and again. Kyle had bought Sadie an apartment, with our money, while telling me we were broke. The front door opened 20 minutes later. Kyle walked in looking sheepish, probably expecting me to apologise for being irrational. Instead, I held up my phone. Want to explain this? He glanced at the screen and his face went white. Actually white, like all the blood had drained straight out. Ave, I can explain. You bought your sister a condo. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you stole our savings to buy your sister a luxury apartment, while I sell my dead mother's jewellery to keep us afloat. Kyle ran his hands through his hair. Okay, yes, I helped Sadie with the down payment, but it's temporary. She's going to pay me back. With what money? Her part-time boutique job? She's got opportunities coming up. Influencer deals, brand partnerships. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Kyle flinched. I never swore at him. Never raised my voice. But something had snapped inside me, and I couldn't put it back together. You gambled our entire future on your sister's Instagram career? It wasn't a gamble. It was an investment in family. An investment? Kyle, you lied to me. You told me the money was gone, lost. You made me believe we were ruined. Because I knew you'd react like this. Like what? Like someone who's been betrayed by her husband? Like someone who doesn't understand that sometimes you have to take risks for the people you love? I stared at him. The people you love. What about me, Kyle? What about the person you married? Of course I love you. That's why I didn't want you to worry. You didn't want me to worry. I've been working 18-hour days. I sold my mother's pearls. I haven't slept in a week. And I appreciate everything you're doing. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop talking. Kyle's mouth snapped shut. How much? What? How much did you give her? For the condo? Kyle looked at his feet. The down payment was $20,000. What else? Ave, what else? First month's rent, security deposit, some furniture. How much total? $35,000. The number hit me like a slap. $35,000, more than half our savings. She needed help. I needed help. Your wife needed help. But instead you chose your sister. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. My phone rang. Lorelei's name flashed on the screen. Don't answer it, Kyle said quickly. Too late. I'd already swiped. Avery, dear, Kyle told me you two had a little spat. A little spat. I looked at Kyle, who was making frantic hand gestures. Did he tell you what it was about? Something about Sadie's new place. Honestly, I think you're being a bit dramatic. Family helps family. Family helps family, I repeated slowly. Exactly. And Sadie's been through such a hard time lately. She deserves some happiness. What about what I deserve, Lorelei? A pause. Well, of course you deserve happiness too, dear. But marriage is about sacrifice. about putting your husband's family first, his family first. That's how it works, Avery. When you married Kyle, you married all of us. I hung up. Kyle was watching me with the expression of a man who knew he was about to get hit by a train. Your mother knew. Your mother knew you stole our money to buy Sadie an apartment, and she thinks I should be grateful for the privilege. Nobody stole anything. It's our money, and I made a decision without me. Because I knew you'd say no. Of course I'd say no. It's insane. Kyle's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression shifted. I have to take this. No, you don't. We're not done. But he was already answering. Hey, Sadie. I could hear her voice through the speaker, high and excited. Kyle, thank God. Avery's being crazy, texting me all these questions about my apartment. Can you talk to her? Kyle looked at me. She found out about the down payment. So? It's none of her business how we handle family finances. Family finances? Like I wasn't part of the family. Kyle saw my expression and tried to backtrack. Sadie, maybe we should talk later. No, put her on. I'll explain it to her. Kyle held out the phone. She wants to talk to you. I took it. Avery, look, I get that you're upset, but Kyle was just helping me out. It's what brothers do. With money that wasn't his to give. Excuse me? That money came from my inheritance, my mother's life insurance, money she left for me. Well, when you got married, it became Kyle's money too. That's how marriage works. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Is that what you think? It's not what I think, it's legal fact, community property and all that. Community property? Right, so technically, Kyle had every right to help me. I hung up and handed Kyle his phone. Get out. Ave, come on. Get out. This is my house too. Then go stay with your sister, in the apartment you bought her. Kyle grabbed his jacket. Fine, but when you calm down, we're going to talk about this like adults. Adults don't lie to their spouses. Adults don't throw tantrums either. The door slammed again, harder this time. I called Gabriella. He bought her a condo, I said when she answered. What? Kyle bought Sadie a condo. $35,000, our money. Jesus Christ. I need your help. I need to know exactly where our money went and when. I'll be right over. An hour later, Gabriella sat at my kitchen table with her laptop and a stack of bank statements. She'd always been good with numbers, worked as an accountant for a small firm downtown. Okay, she said, fingers flying over the keyboard. Let's see what your husband's been up to. We worked in silence for 20 minutes, cross-referencing dates and amounts. What we found made my stomach turn. Ave, Gabriella said quietly, it's not just the condo. What do you mean? She turned the laptop toward me. Look at this. Small transfers going back 3 months. 500 here, 1,000 there, all going to the same account. How much total? Gabriella's face was grim. $48,000. 48,000. Almost our entire savings siphoned away bit by bit while I worked myself to exhaustion. There's more, Gabriella said. The account receiving the transfers. It's not just Sadie's name on it. What do you mean? It's a joint account, Sadie's name and someone else's. She highlighted a name on the screen that made my blood freeze. Prince. Prince, I whispered, staring at the name on the screen. Kyle's co-worker, Prince. Gabriella nodded grimly. The same Prince who recommended the investment that supposedly lost all your money. This doesn't make sense. Why would Sadie have a joint account with Kyle's co-worker? Maybe they're working together. Maybe this whole thing was planned. I felt sick. You think Kyle, Sadie, and Prince conspired to steal my money? I think you need to talk to someone who can give you real answers. Someone who knows about your inheritance. She was right. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Julius, my mum's attorney, the one who'd handled her estate. I'd barely spoken to him since the inheritance was settled 3 years ago. Julius, it's Avery. I need to see you today. Avery, hello. Is everything all right? You sound distressed. My husband has been transferring money out of our joint account, money that came from my mother's life insurance. A pause. I see. Can you be at my office in an hour? I'll be there. Julius's office was exactly as I remembered it. Dark wood, leather chairs and law books that looked older than me. He was waiting with a thick file folder when I arrived. "Sit down, Avery. Tell me what's happened." I laid out everything. Kyle's lies, Sadie's apartment, the transfers to Prince's account. Julius listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes. "How much has been transferred total?" he asked when I finished. $48,000. "And your husband told you this money was lost in a bad investment?" "Yes." He made me believe we were broke. Julius opened the file folder. "Avery, I need to remind you of something important about your inheritance." "What do you mean?" "Your mother was very specific about how she wanted her money protected. She didn't just leave you a lump sum, she created a trust." I frowned. "A trust?" "But the money went into our joint account." "Some of it did. The life insurance payout, yes. But the bulk of your inheritance, the real money, is still in the trust." "I don't understand." Julius pulled out a document. "Your mother left you nearly $200,000, Avery. The $68,000 that went into your joint account was just the initial distribution. The rest has been sitting in a protected trust, earning interest." The room spun. 200,000, 196,000 to be exact. Plus 3 years of accumulated interest. Your mother called it her fortress clause. She wanted to make sure you'd always have something that belonged only to you. Kyle doesn't know about this. Kyle has no legal claim to trust funds. They're yours alone, completely separate from marital property. I stared at the document. My mother had protected me, even from beyond the grave. So the money Kyle stole was yours to begin with, but it wasn't everything, not even close. "Can I access the trust?" "Of course. You're the sole beneficiary. I can have funds transferred to a new account in your name only." "Do it." Julius made a note. "I'll also recommend you speak with a divorce attorney." "I haven't decided about divorce yet." "Avery, your husband has committed fraud. He's stolen from you and lied about it. This isn't a marriage problem. It's a criminal matter." I left Julius's office with a new bank account number and a completely different perspective on my situation. Kyle hadn't destroyed me. He'd stolen from me, but he hadn't destroyed me. My phone rang as I walked to my car. Kyle's name flashed on the screen. "Ave, we need to talk." "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. Can you meet me somewhere?" "Where?" "The coffee shop on 5th Street. The one where we had our first date." I almost laughed. He was trying to manipulate me with nostalgia. "Fine, 20 minutes. Kyle was already there when I arrived, sitting in the same corner booth where he'd nervously asked me to be his girlfriend 7 years ago. He looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. "You look like hell," I said, sliding into the opposite seat. "I feel like hell. Ave, I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry." "For which part? Stealing from me or lying about it?" "Both. All of it." He reached across the table. "I never meant for it to go this far." I pulled my hands away. "How far did you mean for it to go?" Sadie was desperate. She was about to get evicted, and she begged me to help. "So you decided to help her with my money?" "I thought I could pay it back before you noticed. Prince said he had some deals coming up, ways to make quick money." "Prince! Let's talk about Prince." Kyle's face went pale. "What about him? Why does he have a joint account with your sister?" Kyle's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "How did you—" "I hired an accountant to trace our money. Imagine my surprise when I found out it didn't go to some failed startup. It went to Prince and Sadie's joint account." "Ave, I can explain." "Then explain, right now." Kyle looked around the coffee shop like he was searching for an escape route. "Prince and Sadie, they're involved." "Involved how?" "They're seeing each other. Have been for months." "And you thought it was a good idea to give them our life savings?" "Prince said he could invest it, double it, maybe triple it. Then I could pay you back and we'd be better off than before." "Kyle, do you hear yourself? You gave our money to your sister's boyfriend to gamble with." "It wasn't gambling. Prince knows people, has connections. Prince is a con artist and you fell for it." "No, he's not. He's on the board at my company." "Kyle." I leaned forward. "I know about the trust." The colour drained from his face completely. "What trust?" "My mother's trust. The one with the real inheritance money. The money you can't touch." Kyle stared at me. "I don't know what you're talking about." $196,000, Kyle. That's what my mother actually left me. The money you stole was just pocket change. That's impossible. You would have told me. I didn't know, but I do now. Kyle's hands shook as he reached for his coffee. Ave, please. We can fix this. I'll get the money back from Prince and Sadie. How? By asking nicely. I'll make them give it back. With what leverage? You're not exactly in a position to make demands. Kyle's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face went even paler. What is it? Text from Sadie. She wants to meet. About what? Kyle showed me the message. We need to talk. Bring Avery. It's important. I looked at Kyle. What does she want? I don't know. But Ave, please, come with me. Let's hear what she has to say. Why would I do that? Because maybe we can work this out. Maybe there's a way to fix everything. I studied his face. He looked desperate, broken. Part of me felt sorry for him, but a bigger part of me was curious. What could Sadie possibly have to say that would make any of this better? Fine, I said. But Kyle? Yeah? This is your last chance. If you lie to me again, if you try to manipulate me, or gaslight me, or make me feel crazy, we're done. Completely done. Kyle nodded frantically. I understand. No more lies. But as we left the coffee shop, I caught him typing something on his phone, a quick message to someone. He was already breaking his promise. We met Sadie at her new apartment. Of course we did. She wanted to show off what she bought with my money. The building was everything the Instagram posts had promised. Marble lobby, doorman who looked like he belonged in a magazine, elevator that moved so smoothly I barely felt it rise to the 15th floor. Sadie answered the door in yoga pants that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Her smile was bright and fake. Avery! So good to see you. Come in, come in. The apartment was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows, hardwood floors, kitchen island bigger than my entire kitchen. Everything was white and gold and perfect. Beautiful place, I said. Thank you. I just love it. Can I get you something to drink? Wine? Coffee? I'm fine. Kyle shifted nervously beside me. Sadie, you said you wanted to talk? Right, yes, let's sit. She led us to a living room that looked like a furniture showroom. I perched on the edge of a white leather couch that probably cost more than my car. So, Sadie said, settling into a matching chair, Kyle told me you're upset about the money situation. The money situation, I repeated. And I totally get it. I mean, I'd be upset too if I didn't understand what was really happening. Then explain it to me. Sadie's smile widened. It's an investment, Avery. In my future. In all our futures, really. Your future. I'm building a brand. Social media influence, lifestyle content, product partnerships. Do you know how much money influencers make? Enlighten me. Hundreds of thousands. Millions if you do it right. And I'm doing it right. She pulled out her phone, started scrolling through screenshots. Look at these numbers. 50,000 followers and growing. Engagement rates through the roof. I've already got 3 companies wanting to sponsor me. For what? Lifestyle content, fashion, home decor, beauty products. This apartment isn't just where I live. It's my studio, my set. Every post I make here is worth thousands in potential revenue. I looked at Kyle. You bought your sister an apartment so she could take Instagram photos? It's more than that, Kyle said quickly. Show her the contracts, Sadie. Sadie jumped up, grabbed a folder from her kitchen counter. These are preliminary agreements. Once I hit 100,000 followers, these deals become official. She spread papers across the coffee table. I picked one up, scanned it. This says you'll make $5,000 if you hit certain metrics. That's just one deal. I've got 5 more in the works. So $30,000 if you hit your targets. When I hit my targets. Sadie, you spent $48,000 of my money. Even if all these deals work out, you're still in the hole. That's just the beginning. Once I establish myself, the real money starts flowing. 6-figure deals, brand partnerships, maybe my own product line. I stared at her. You're living in a fantasy. I'm living in the future. Kyle gets it. That's why he invested in me. Kyle stole from me to fund your delusions. Sadie's smile faltered. Delusions? Yes. You think you're going to become a millionaire by posting pictures of your breakfast. Avery, Kyle warned. No, Kyle. Let me finish. I turned back to Sadie. You have 50,000 followers. Do you know how many people have 50,000 followers and make zero money? Do you know how saturated the influencer market is? I'm different. You're not. You're a basic girl with a trust fund mentality and no actual skills. Sadie's face went red. Excuse me? You heard me. You've never worked a real job in your life. You've never had to struggle or sacrifice or build anything. You just expect money to fall into your lap because you're pretty and entitled. Avery, stop, Kyle said. Why? Because I'm hurting her feelings? She stole my inheritance and I'm supposed to be polite about it? I didn't steal anything, Sadie snapped. Kyle gave me that money willingly. Kyle gave you my money without my permission. That's theft. It's community property. Actually, it's not. Both Kyle and Sadie stared at me. The money Kyle gave you came from my mother's life insurance. But that wasn't my real inheritance. My mother left me a trust, a big one. Money that Kyle can't touch, can't access, can't steal. Kyle's face went white. Ave, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the $196,000 that's sitting in an account with only my name on it. Sadie's mouth fell open. That's impossible. I met with my attorney today. Turns out my mother was smarter than all of us. She protected her money from exactly this situation. You're lying, Sadie said. I pulled out my phone, showed them the bank app with my new account balance. $203,000 with interest. The silence stretched between us. Kyle looked like he might throw up. So you see, I continued, your little scheme didn't work. You didn't get my real money. You just got enough to hang yourselves with. Sadie recovered first. Well, that's great for you, but Kyle still gave me this money and I'm not giving it back. We'll see about that. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm going to destroy you. Kyle stood up abruptly. Ave, let's go. This isn't helping anyone. Sit down, Kyle. Ave, sit. Down. He sat. I turned back to Sadie. You want to play influencer? Let's talk about your brand. What happens when your followers find out you're a thief? I'm not a thief. You took money that wasn't yours. You're living a lie funded by someone else's inheritance. How do you think that plays on social media? Sadie's confidence cracked. You wouldn't. Try me. Kyle, tell her she can't do this. Kyle looked between us like a trapped animal. Maybe we should all calm down. There's more, I said. Prince, your boyfriend, the one with his name on your bank account. Sadie went very still. What about Prince? Kyle told me you two are involved. Joint account, joint schemes. Very romantic. Kyle told you that? I looked at Kyle, who was staring at his hands. He did. Just this afternoon. Sadie turned to her brother, her voice deadly quiet. You told her about Prince and me. Sadie, I had to explain. You promised you wouldn't tell anyone. I was trying to make her understand. Understand what? That you threw me under the bus to save yourself? Kyle's mouth opened and closed. That's not what happened. Isn't it? Sadie's voice was rising. You made this mess, Kyle. You came to me begging for help with your marriage problems, asking me to help you hide money from Avery. Sadie, stop. And now when it all falls apart, you blame me? You tell her I seduced you into it. I looked between them. Wait, Kyle asked you to help him hide money from me. Sadie laughed bitterly. Oh, this is rich. He didn't tell you that part, did he? Sadie, please, Kyle begged. Tell me what part? I asked. Sadie smiled, and it wasn't pretty. Kyle's been planning to leave you for months, Avery. The money transfers, the secret accounts, all of it. He's been moving assets so you couldn't get them in the divorce. The words hit me like ice water. That's not true. Ask him. I turned to Kyle. Is that true? Kyle's silence was answer enough. Oh my God, I whispered. You were planning to divorce me and leave me with nothing. Ave, it's not that simple. How long? What? How long have you been planning this? Kyle's voice was barely a whisper. 6 months. 6 months. While I worked myself to exhaustion, while I sold my mother's jewellery, while I believed his lies about loving me. And Prince? I asked Sadie. Where does he fit in? Sadie's smile turned vicious. Prince isn't my boyfriend, honey. He's Kyle's business partner. They've been planning this together from the beginning. She pulled out her phone, scrolled to a text thread, and handed it to me. The messages were between her and Prince, but they weren't love notes. They were plans to screw over Kyle. I read the text between Sadie and Prince, my hands shaking with each message. Kyle's such an idiot. He actually thinks we're going to give him half. Let him think it. Once we have all the money moved, we'll cut him loose. What about his wife? What about her? She'll be Kyle's problem, not ours. You're brilliant, babe. Kyle never saw this coming. I looked up at Sadie, who was watching me with satisfaction. You played him. Like a fiddle. Kyle grabbed the phone from my hands, reading frantically. His face went from pale to green. Sadie, what the fuck is this? It's called getting what I deserve. We had a deal. We had a deal where you got half, and I got half. But then I realised something. Sadie stood up, smoothing her yoga pants. Why should I split anything with you? You're the one who stole from your wife. You're the one who committed fraud. I'm just an innocent victim who got caught up in your scheme. You bitch, Kyle whispered. Careful, brother. I have screenshots of every conversation we've had about this. Every text where you planned to hide assets from Avery. Every email where you asked me to help you screw over your wife. Kyle lunged toward her, but I grabbed his arm. Don't, I said. She's not worth it. Listen to your wife, Kyle. She's smarter than both of us gave her credit for. I stood up slowly. You're right, Sadie. I am smarter than you thought. Good for you. Smart enough to record this entire conversation. Sadie's smile faltered. What? I held up my phone. Voice memo. Been running since we sat down. You can't do that. This is my apartment. Actually, I can. Single party consent state. I only need my permission to record. Kyle stared at me. Ave, what are you doing? What I should have done weeks ago. Taking control. I stopped the recording and immediately texted it to Gabriella with a message. Send this to Julius. Now. Who's Julius? Sadie asked. My attorney. The one who's going to help me destroy both of you. You can't prove anything, can't I? I have bank records showing Kyle transferred our money to your joint account with Prince. I have this recording of you admitting to conspiracy and fraud. I have text messages between you and Prince planning to steal from Kyle. Those texts are private. Not anymore. You showed them to me, remember? In front of witnesses. Kyle was reading through more of the messages. Jesus Christ, Sadie. You and Prince have been planning this for months. Of course we have. Did you really think we'd let you keep half after you dragged us into your mess? My mess? You agreed to help. Because Prince convinced me to. He said we could take everything and leave you holding the bag. And you were fine with that. Kyle, you were planning to divorce your wife and leave her with nothing. Don't act like you have moral high ground here. I looked between them. These two people who destroyed my life for money. You deserve each other. Excuse me? You're both liars. You're both thieves. You both betrayed the people who trusted you most. I never betrayed anyone, Sadie snapped. You betrayed Kyle, your own brother. He betrayed you first. And that makes it okay? Sadie's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face went white. What is it? Kyle asked. Prince. He wants to meet. About what? Sadie's hands shook as she typed a response. He says there's a problem with the money. What kind of problem? He won't say. Just that we need to meet tonight. Kyle grabbed his jacket. Let's go. Wait, I said. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not, Kyle said. It's my money. I have a right to know what happened to it. Avi, this could be dangerous. If Prince is planning something, then you'll need a witness. Sadie looked up from her phone. He wants to meet at the warehouse district, some address I don't recognize. That's definitely not suspicious, I said. We don't have a choice, Kyle said. If we want our money back. Your money? I laughed. Kyle, you don't have any money. You stole mine, gave it to them, and they stole it from you. You're broke. Then help me get it back. Why would I do that? Because I'm your husband. You're my soon-to-be ex-husband who planned to divorce me and leave me with nothing. Kyle's shoulders sagged. Ave, please. I know I fucked up. I know I don't deserve your help. But if we don't get that money back, Prince and Sadie win. And if we do get it back, then maybe we can work something out. Maybe we can fix this. I stared at him. There's no fixing this, Kyle. You killed our marriage the moment you decided to steal from me. So you won't help. I didn't say that. Hope flickered in his eyes. You'll come with us. I'll come, but not to help you. I want to see Prince's face when I tell him about the trust fund. I want to watch him realise he went through all this trouble for pocket change. Sadie was still texting furiously. He says to come alone. Not happening, I said. We go together or not at all. He's not going to like that. I don't care what Prince likes. He stole my money. He can deal with my terms. An hour later, we were driving through the warehouse district in Kyle's car. The area was mostly abandoned. Old industrial buildings with broken windows and graffiti-covered walls. This is a terrible idea, I said. You didn't have to come, Kyle muttered. Yes, I did. Someone needs to witness whatever Prince is planning. Sadie was navigating from the passenger seat. Turn left here. It should be the third building. We pulled up to a warehouse that looked like it hadn't been used in decades. One car was already there. A black BMW I recognised from Kyle's company parking lot. That's Prince's car, Kyle said. Where is he? Inside, I guess. We got out of the car. The warehouse had a side door that was slightly ajar. Light spilled out from inside. Prince? Sadie called out. In here, came the reply. We walked through the door into a large, mostly empty space. Prince stood in the centre under a single hanging light bulb. He looked different than I remembered. Sharper, more dangerous. You brought her, he said, looking at me. She insisted, Kyle said. That's unfortunate. Why? I asked. Prince smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes, because now I have to change my plans. What plans? The plans that didn't include witnesses. That's when I saw the other men step out of the shadows. 3 of them, all bigger than Prince, all looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Prince, Kyle said slowly, what's going on? What's going on, Kyle, is that you've become a liability, you and your sister both. We had a deal. We had a deal when I thought you could keep your mouth shut. But then you told your wife about me. Then Sadie started getting greedy, demanding more money. I never demanded anything, Sadie protested. You demanded I leave my wife for you. You demanded I buy you a bigger apartment. You demanded a lot of things, Sadie. Because you promised. I promised you money, and you got it. But that wasn't enough, was it? I looked around the warehouse, calculating distances to exits. How much money are we talking about? Prince laughed. More than you know, sweetheart. Your husband's been skimming from his company for months. The money he stole from you was just the beginning. What? Kyle's face went ashen. Prince, don't what? Don't tell your wife that you've been embezzling from your employer, that the FBI is already investigating. The warehouse seemed to spin around me. The FBI? Oh, yes. Kyle's been very busy. Company funds, client accounts, even the pension fund. Your husband's a regular Bernie Madoff. That's not true, Kyle whispered. Isn't it? Should I show her the bank statements, the forged documents, the fake invoices? Prince pulled out a folder, scattered papers across the concrete floor. Even in the dim light, I could see Kyle's signature on dozens of documents. Kyle, I breathed. What did you do? But Kyle wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the men in the shadows, finally understanding what kind of trouble he was in. Prince, he said quietly, we can work this out. No, Kyle, we really can't. Actually, Prince, I said, stepping forward, I think we can work this out. Everyone turned to look at me. Prince raised an eyebrow. Can we now? You want Kyle and Sadie to disappear, right? To stop being problems for you? That's one way to put it. What if I told you there was a better way? A way that gets you what you want without... I gestured at the men in the shadows. Without this. Prince studied me. I'm listening. Kyle's already destroyed. The FBI investigation you mentioned. That's going to ruin him whether you do anything or not. And Sadie. I looked at her. She's about to lose everything too. What are you talking about? Sadie demanded. I'm talking about the fact that you're both idiots who left a paper trail a mile wide. I pulled out my phone, showed them the screen. While you were planning your little warehouse meeting, I was busy. I sent everything to the FBI. Bank records, text messages, that recording from your apartment. All of it. Kyle's face went white. You didn't. I did. About an hour ago. You bitch, Sadie snarled. I'm the bitch. You stole my money and planned to frame your own brother for it. Prince was watching this exchange with interest. What exactly did you send them? Evidence of a conspiracy to commit fraud. Evidence of embezzlement. Evidence of money laundering. Take your pick. And you think that helps me how? Because I also told them where to find you. The warehouse went dead silent. Prince's men shifted nervously. You're bluffing, Prince said. Am I? I held up my phone again. Want to see the email I sent to Agent Martinez? The one with your name, your address, and a detailed timeline of your involvement. Prince's composure cracked. You stupid bitch! Do you have any idea what you've done? I've done what I should have done weeks ago. I've taken control. You've signed your own death warrant. Have I? Because I'm pretty sure the FBI is already on their way here. As if on cue, we heard the sound of car engines outside. Multiple cars, moving fast. Prince's men looked toward the door. Boss, we need to go. Nobody moves, Prince snapped. But his voice had lost its confidence. The sound of car doors slamming echoed through the warehouse. Then footsteps. Lots of them. FBI! Building is surrounded! Prince spun toward me. You set us up. I set you all up. Kyle, Sadie, you. Every single person who thought they could steal from me and get away with it. Avery, Kyle whispered. What have you done? What I had to do. The warehouse door burst open. Agents in tactical gear flooded in, weapons drawn. Everyone on the ground! Now! Prince's men immediately dropped to their knees, hands behind their heads. They'd clearly done this before. Prince looked around wildly, then focused on me. This isn't over! Yes, it is. On the ground, an agent shouted at Prince. Prince slowly knelt, his eyes never leaving mine. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. A small-time crook who thought he was smarter than everyone else. Kyle and Sadie were on their knees now too, both looking shell-shocked. Avery Bryant, one of the agents approached me. Yes? Agent Martinez, we spoke on the phone. Thank you for coming so quickly. Thank you for the evidence. We've been trying to build a case against Prince for months. What happens now? Now we arrest everyone involved in the conspiracy, including your husband and sister-in-law. I watched as they cuffed Kyle. He looked at me with something between betrayal and admiration. Ave, why? Because you destroyed our marriage for money. Because you planned to leave me with nothing. Because you're a liar and a thief. I loved you. No, you didn't. You loved what I could give you. There's a difference. They cuffed Sadie next. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. This is all your fault, she sobbed at me. You ruined everything. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped letting you ruin me. Prince was the last to be cuffed. As they led him past me, he leaned close. You think you've won? This is just the beginning. No, Prince. This is the end. Agent Martinez stayed behind as they loaded everyone into separate cars. We'll need you to come in for a full statement, he said. Of course. You did the right thing, Mrs. Bryant. I know it couldn't have been easy. It was the only thing I could do. As the cars pulled away, I stood alone in the empty warehouse. My phone buzzed with a text from Gabriella. Saw the news. Are you okay? I typed back. I'm perfect. But I wasn't perfect. I was exhausted and heartbroken and angry. I was also free. My phone rang. Julius. Avery, I just heard. Are you safe? I'm safe. Good. We need to talk about next steps. Divorce proceedings, asset recovery, criminal restitution. Tomorrow. Tonight I just want to go home. Of course. But Avery. Yes? You should know that the media has picked up the story. It's going to be big news. I thought about that. Kyle's company was well known locally. Prince was a public figure. The story of a wife exposing her husband's crimes would definitely make headlines. Let them write about it. I have nothing to hide. I drove home, through empty streets, past the coffee shop where Kyle had tried to manipulate me with nostalgia, past the diner where I'd worked myself to exhaustion, past the jewellery store where I'd sold my mother's pearls. Tomorrow, I would deal with lawyers and reporters and the mess Kyle had left behind. Tomorrow, I would start rebuilding my life. But tonight, I was going to sleep in my own bed, in my own apartment, with my own money safely in my own account. I parked outside my building and looked up at my windows. For the first time in months, I felt something I'd almost forgotten. Peace. My phone buzzed one more time. An unknown number. Mrs. Bryant, you don't know me, but I work at Kyle's company. Thank you for exposing what they were doing. They stole from the pension fund. You saved a lot of people's retirement. I smiled and typed back, "You're welcome." Then I turned off my phone and went inside. The war was over. I had won. But as I climbed the stairs to my apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that Prince's words weren't just empty threats. This might be the end of one chapter, but something told me the story wasn't over yet. The knock on my door came at 7 in the morning, 3 days after the warehouse. I looked through the peephole and saw a woman I didn't recognise holding a manila envelope. "Avery Bryant?" "Yes." "I'm Sarah from Channel 7 News. Could I have a moment of your time?" "I'm not giving interviews." "This isn't about an interview. It's about something you need to see." Against my better judgment, I opened the door with the chain still attached. "What is it?" Sarah held up the envelope. "Photos of Prince's other victims. There are more, Mrs. Bryant. A lot more." I unlatched the chain and let her in. Sarah spread the photos across my kitchen table. Dozens of them. Men and women of all ages, some with families, some alone, all looking broken. "Who are these people?" "Prince's victims over the past 5 years. Employees he's embezzled from, investors he's defrauded, families he's destroyed." I picked up one photo. A middle-aged woman holding a toddler. "This is Maria Santos. Prince convinced her to invest her disability settlement in a fake company. She lost everything, had to move in with her sister." Another photo. An elderly couple. The Johnsons. Prince was their financial advisor. He stole their entire retirement fund. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because they want to thank you. All of them. You did what they couldn't do. You stopped him." My phone rang. Gabriella. "Ava, turn on the news. Channel 7. I grabbed the remote, flipped to the local news. My face filled the screen, a photo from my company website. "Local woman exposes multi-million-dollar fraud scheme," the anchor was saying. "Avery Bryant's courage in coming forward has led to the arrest of Prince Daniels and the recovery of stolen funds affecting dozens of victims." The screen switched to footage of Prince being led away in handcuffs. Daniels, a board member at Bryant Industries, is accused of embezzling over $3 million from various sources, including employee pension funds and private investors. $3 million. Kyle had been small time compared to Prince. Sarah was watching me watch the news. "There's more." "What do you mean?" "Prince had partners, other people in other cities running similar schemes. Your evidence didn't just take down Prince. It exposed an entire network." She pulled out another folder, this one thick with documents. FBI raids in Chicago, Denver, Phoenix. 17 arrests so far, all because you decided to fight back. I stared at the documents. "I just wanted my money back." "You got a lot more than that." My phone buzzed with a text from Julius. "Need to see you today. Good news about asset recovery." "I have to go," I told Sarah. "Of course. But Mrs. Bryant, these people want to meet you, to thank you in person." "I don't need thanks." "Maybe not, but they need to give them." Julius's office was buzzing with activity when I arrived. Paralegals rushing around with files, phones ringing constantly. "Avery!" Julius stood up from behind a desk covered in papers. "Sit down. We have a lot to discuss." "The asset recovery. Better than we hoped. The FBI has frozen all of Prince's accounts. They've also recovered most of the money Kyle transferred." "Most of it?" 43,000 of the original 48. The rest was spent, but we can pursue restitution." "What about Kyle and Sadie?" "Kyle's looking at 5 to 10 years. Federal fraud charges, embezzlement, conspiracy. Sadie will probably get 2 to 3 as an accessory." "And Prince?" 25 to life. He's been running this scheme for years. Your evidence was the key that unlocked everything." Julius leaned back in his chair. "There's something else. The FBI wants to offer you a reward." "A reward?" "For information leading to the arrest and conviction of a major fraud ring. Could be substantial." I thought about that. Blood money in a way. Payment for destroying my own life. "I don't want it." "Avery!" "Give it to the other victims, the people in those photos. They need it more than I do." Julius nodded. "I'll make the arrangements." My phone rang. Unknown number again. Hello? Mrs. Bryant, this is Detective Williams with Phoenix PD. We arrested 3 people yesterday based on evidence from your case. I wanted to thank you personally. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. These people destroyed lives, families. You stopped them. After I hung up, Julius was watching me with concern. How are you holding up? I'm tired. That's understandable. You've been through hell. Have I done the right thing? What do you mean? Kyle was my husband. Sadie was family. I destroyed them. Avery, they destroyed themselves. You just refused to let them destroy you too. That evening, I sat in my apartment with a glass of wine and my laptop. The news coverage was everywhere. My story had gone viral, shared thousands of times across social media. Most of the comments were supportive. Hero. Brave. Justice served. But some weren't. Home wrecker. Vindictive bitch. Should have stood by her husband. I was about to close the laptop when a new email arrived. The subject line made me pause. Thank you from Colorado. Mrs. Bryant, you don't know me, but Prince Daniel stole my son's college fund 3 years ago. I thought I'd never get justice. Today, the FBI arrested his partner here in Denver and recovered the money. My son starts college in the fall. Thank you for giving him his future back. Another email arrived. Then another. Dozens of them from people across the country whose lives had been touched by Prince's network. A widow who got her husband's life insurance back. A veteran who recovered his disability payments. A young couple who could finally buy their first home. I sat there reading email after email, crying for people I'd never met, but somehow helped. My phone rang. Lorelei. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Avery? Lorelei. I wanted to apologise. That was unexpected. For what? For not seeing what Kyle was doing. For blaming you. For not being the mother-in-law you deserved. Lorelei. No, let me finish. I raised Kyle to be better than this. I failed him. And I failed you. You didn't fail anyone. I did. And now my children are going to prison because I taught them that family loyalty meant protecting each other's lives. The pain in her voice was real, raw. What will you do now? I asked. I don't know. Start over, I guess. Try to figure out how I got it so wrong. We all got it wrong, Lorelei. The important thing is what we do next. What are you going to do next? I looked around my apartment, my safe space, my fortress. I'm going to live my life on my terms, with my money, without anyone else's permission. That sounds like a good plan. After we hung up, I poured another glass of wine and opened my laptop again. More emails had arrived. More thank yous from strangers whose lives I'd accidentally saved. But the last email was different. It was from Kyle. Ave, I know you probably won't read this, but I need to say it. You were right about everything. I was weak and selfish, and I destroyed the best thing in my life. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know that I'm proud of you. You're stronger than I ever was. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to be amazing. I stared at that email for a long time. Then I deleted it without responding. Some bridges, once burned, should stay burned. I closed the laptop and walked to my window. The city stretched out below me, full of lights and possibilities. Somewhere out there, people were sleeping better tonight because Prince and his network were behind bars. Families were whole again because their stolen money was coming home. I hadn't set out to be anyone's hero. I'd just refused to be anyone's victim. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Gabriella. Dinner tomorrow? I'm buying. We're celebrating. Celebrating what? Your new life. I smiled and typed back. Yes, but I'm buying. I can afford it now. I could afford a lot of things now. A new apartment, a vacation, a car that didn't break down every month. But most importantly, I could afford to be myself. Completely, unapologetically myself. And that was worth more than all the money in the world.
The sketchbook was gone. Not just misplaced or borrowed, completely gone. It was my latest work, 2 months of late nights and coffee-stained hands, and now it had vanished from my studio desk. I searched through piles of fabric and scattered pencils, my heart beating faster as every drawer turned up empty. I'm Donna, and I should have known better than to leave anything important out when my sister was around. Donna, darling, we're waiting, My mom called from downstairs, reminding me it was time for the monthly family dinner, something I never looked forward to. I gave the studio one last look before heading down, my stomach twisting with more than just hunger. The dining room looked like it was straight out of a magazine. Mom had gone all out again, the crystal glasses shining perfectly in the light. Dad was already sitting at the head of the table, sipping his usual whiskey. And there she was, Emma, dressed in one of her expensive outfits that probably cost more than my monthly rent. As usual, she looked flawless. Then Emma smiled and lifted her wine glass. I was just about to share my big news, she said. I sat down and forced a smile. Let me guess, another award? I said. Even better, she said, leaning in with excited eyes. I've been picked as a finalist for the International Fashion Innovation Awards. The judges were blown away by my new designs. I suddenly found the green beans on my plate very interesting. That's amazing. Show her the designs, Michelle. Mom said, glowing with pride. Donna, you won't believe how creative they are. Emma pulled out her phone and slid it across the table. Just a few sneak peeks before the big reveal next month. My fork hit the plate. I stared at the screen. Those were my designs. My special necklines. My layered sleeves. My color combos. Even the tiny mistake I made on the sketch of the evening gown, it was there, right in her digital copy. Something wrong, sweetie? Dad asked, noticing I wasn't moving. I held my napkin tight under the table. These are interesting. When did you come up with them? Oh, you know how it goes, Emma said with a wave of her hand. I had a big creative burst last month. Hardly slept for weeks. Last month, I said, my voice sounding flat. When you visited my studio? Donna, Mom said, warning me. She knew where this was going. Don't start. Start what? I said, pushing my chair back. Start pointing out that these look exactly like the designs in my missing sketchbook? The room went quiet. Emma's smile didn't fade. Don't be silly, she said. You're not saying what I think you're saying, right? I'm just telling the truth. Those are my designs, I said firmly. Donna Johnson. Mom snapped, her voice sharp. How dare you accuse your sister? Emma has been featured in Vogue. She dresses celebrities. Why would she need to steal your little hobby designs? The word hobby hit me hard, like a slap to the face. Dad cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable. Now, Rachel. No, Mom's right, Emma said calmly, as if she had everything under control. This is probably just a mix-up. Great minds think alike, right, Donnas? Besides, these designs look more polished than what you usually do. I stood up fast, the chair screeching across the wooden floor. My usual work? You mean the sketches you secretly peek at every time you visit? The ones you've been studying while acting like you were just supporting your little sister? Donna, please sit down, Dad said gently. Let's talk this through. There's nothing to talk about, I said, grabbing my purse. Congratulations on the nomination, Emma. I really hope the judges enjoy all your hard work, my hard work. I walked out, ignoring Mom's voice calling after me and Dad trying to calm things down. The cool evening air hit my face as I rushed to my car, my hands shaking while I searched for my keys. Then a tap on the window startled me. It was Dad. He looked worried. I rolled down the window slowly. Princess, he said softly, using the nickname he gave me as a kid. Are you sure about this? It's a serious thing to say. I looked him in the eyes. Do you remember when I was 7 and Emma took my art project to school? The one that won first place? This is just like that, Dad, except now it's not a school contest. It's my future. He sighed and rubbed his hand through his gray hair. So, what are you going to do? I turned on the engine. My heart felt stronger. What I should have done 21 years ago. I'm going to stand up for myself. As I drove away, I glanced back at the house. Emma was at the window, her face lit by the warm lights of the dining room. She raised her wine glass toward me like a fake toast. And right then I realized this wasn't just about the designs. It was about every time she stepped over me. Every win she took as her own. Every moment she pushed me into the shadows. But not this time. This time she was going to see my shadow. The fashion show venue buzzed with excitement. The bright white runway sparkled under the harsh lights. I shouldn't have been there. My invitation had somehow been lost in the mail. But Henry had press passes and they got us both in. You sure you want to do this? Henry asked, fixing the strap on his camera. We can still walk away. I shook my head, holding my old sketchbook tightly. I need to see it for myself. The lights in the room dimmed, and the crowd went quiet. Music started playing from hidden speakers as the first model walked out. My throat tightened. There it was, my blazer design, with the uneven shape and special button layout I had worked on for weeks. It looked exactly like my sketch. Whoa, Henry whispered beside me, taking photos. It's exactly the same. One by one, my designs walked down the runway. Every outfit was a perfect copy of the ones in my sketchbook. The crowd clapped and cheered at all the right moments. But every cheer felt like a knife to my chest. Then Emma stepped onto the runway for her final bow. She was glowing in a white pantsuit. The audience stood up and clapped loudly. I feel sick, I whispered to Henry. He grabbed my arm. Don't you dare leave now. Look, she's going to the backstage party. This is your chance. I followed the crowd heading to the after-party, holding my sketchbook close like a shield. Emma stood near the champagne table, surrounded by fans and fashion reporters. She was smiling and waving her glass. The ideas just came to me, she was saying. Sometimes the universe gives you the perfect collection. Or maybe the universe gave them to you from your sister's studio, I said, stepping forward. My voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Her smile froze for a second. Donna, what a surprise. I didn't know you were coming. Clearly, I said, holding up my sketchbook. Want to explain how the universe gave you my exact designs? The crowd shifted awkwardly. A fashion blogger I knew started recording on her phone. Oh, sweetie, Emma laughed, but I could see the warning in her eyes. You're still stuck on that? Let's talk in private. Why private? I asked. You had no problem showing my work in public. She grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Stop causing a scene. Let go of me. I snapped, pulling away. She stumbled a little. Just admit it, Emma, I said. Admit you stole my designs. Security, she called out, her voice soft and sweet again. I'm so sorry, everyone. My sister's going through a tough time. Jealousy in this business can be so unfortunate. Two large men in black suits started walking toward us. Henry stepped in front of me with his camera raised. I filmed everything. Maybe we all need to calm down. Take them both out, Emma ordered, turning back to her audience. I was talking about my inspiration, Emma was saying, as the security guards led us toward the exit. But before we left, I noticed some people in the crowd looking back and forth between my open sketchbook and the outfits on display. They were whispering to each other. Outside, the cool night air didn't help calm me down. Did you see that? I said angrily. She didn't even deny it. Henry looked through the photos on his camera. We got some great shots of your sketches, next to her clothes. And that blogger was recording the whole thing. This might go viral. It's not enough, I muttered, walking fast on the sidewalk, my heels clicking against the pavement. She'll just say I copied her and drew the designs tonight. She has all the power, all the connections. Then we need better proof, Henry said, stopping me and putting his hands on my shoulders. Think, Donna. When did she take your sketchbook? How did she turn the drawings into digital files? There has to be a trail. My thoughts sped up. She came to my studio 4 weeks ago, right before the contest deadline. Said she wanted to catch up and see what I was working on. And she took you out for lunch, Henry added, giving her time alone in your studio. Yes, I gasped. And my laptop. I always keep it locked, but Emma knows the password. It's our childhood cat's name. She helped me set it up years ago. Henry smiled. Now we're getting somewhere. Your computer might have records. Dates when the files were created, emails sent, maybe more. But how do we get to it? She probably deleted everything by now. Leave that to me, he said, pulling out his phone. Remember Joyce from college? She's a reporter now. Investigative stuff. This is exactly the kind of story she'd love. I watched as he dialed, a spark of hope lighting up in my chest. Through the venue's windows, I saw Emma still laughing and enjoying the attention. She spotted me and raised her glass again, just like she had at dinner. "Game on, sister," I whispered. "Game on." Joyce looked just like she had in college, sharp eyes and all business. We met in a quiet corner of a small cafe. She tapped her pen on a leather notebook as she listened. "Let me get this straight," she said. "Your sister, the fashion industry's favorite, stole your designs and entered them in the biggest competition around?" "Yes," I replied, sliding my phone across the table. "These are my original drawings. And these are the outfits she showed on the runway." Joyce zoomed in on the photos, her frown growing deeper. "The match is clear," she said. "But Donna, you know how this works. We need solid proof, not just your word." "That's why we called you," Henry added. "You're the best at finding the truth." She gave a small smile, but her eyes stayed focused. "Flattery helps. So, what do we know about how she works?" "She always uses the same digital artist," I said. "A guy named Adam. He's the one who turns her drawings into finished designs." I opened Emma's Instagram. "Look, she tags Adam in all her posts." Joyce's eyes lit up. "Perfect. Digital files always leave clues. If Adam worked on these designs, there'll be records, emails, file dates, edit history." "But he won't talk to us," I said with a sigh. "He's totally loyal to her." "He might talk to Vogue, though," Joyce replied with a sharp smile. "Especially if they're looking into fraud at the Innovation Awards." Henry raised his eyebrows. "You can get Vogue involved?" "I know people," Joyce said. "But first," she leaned in, "are you absolutely sure you want to go through with this, Donna? This won't just bring down Emma. It'll affect your whole family." My phone buzzed. A message from Mom. "Emma's being interviewed by Fashion Weekly tomorrow. Why can't you be happy for her success?" I showed the message to Joyce. "My family's already broken. They just don't see it yet." "All right then," Joyce said, opening her notebook. "Here's what we need. Footage from the day Emma visited your studio, your laptop access logs, and any messages between Emma and Adam about the designs." "I can get the building's security footage," Henry said. "The manager owes me a favor." "And I saved all my computer logs," I added. "But Emma's smart. She probably deleted everything on her side." "Lucky for us, Adam doesn't seem so careful," Joyce said, turning her laptop around to show us his public portfolio. "He keeps detailed records. Look, he even includes revision dates." I leaned in. The first versions of those designs were dated just after Emma's visit to my studio. "That's something," I said. "But not enough, right?" "No, but it's a good start," Joyce replied. "We need something solid, an email, a voice message, something that proves Emma stole your work." She closed her notebook. "The award ceremony is in 4 weeks. That's our deadline." My phone buzzed again. This time it was a family group message from Emma. "Everyone free for dinner tomorrow? I have a big announcement to share." "She's going to enjoy every second of this," I muttered. "Then go," Joyce said. "Act like everything's fine. Let her believe she's already won. Meanwhile, we'll gather what we need." "I don't know if I can face her," I said quietly. "Yes, you can. And you will," Joyce said, squeezing my hand. "Think of it as collecting clues. Every fake smile, every lie, it's more proof for when we finally expose her." Henry cleared his throat. "So, how exactly are we going to do that?" Joyce's smile turned sharp. "The award show is going to be streamed live, watched all over the world. Every major fashion reporter will be there. If we plan this right, everyone will see her lies fall apart in real time." "That's intense," Henry said. I paused. "Isn't this a little harsh?" I asked. "Even harsher than stealing your sister's entire life's work?" Joyce raised an eyebrow. "Sometimes, when someone lies in public, the only way to respond is with the truth, also in public." My phone lit up again. A private message from Emma. "Saw you with Joyce today. Whatever you're planning, remember who Mom and Dad will believe. Don't embarrass yourself, little sister." I showed the message to Joyce and Henry. Their faces turned serious. Well, Joyce said, snapping her laptop shut. So much for being subtle. Meet me tomorrow after your family dinner. We're going to need strong coffee and a plan. As we left the cafe, Henry gave my shoulder a quick squeeze. You okay? I looked at Joyce waving down a taxi, already scribbling in her notebook. Probably coming up with our next move. You know what's strange? I said. For the first time since this all began, I actually feel strong. Good, Henry smiled. Because from the look in Joyce's eyes, this is going to be one wild showdown. I smiled too, already picturing the moment Emma's perfect little world came crashing down. Bring it on. Emma's home office smelled like fancy perfume and success. I had exactly 20 minutes, the time it took for her usual evening shower. She never changed her routine. Dinner had gone just how we expected. She announced she'd be on a magazine cover. Mom was thrilled. I had politely excused myself to go to the bathroom. My hands were shaking as I plugged the USB drive into her laptop. I could still hear Joyce's voice in my head. Just copy everything. We'll go through it later. The laptop turned on with a soft hum. Of course, she hadn't changed her password. Princess 2024. She was too full of herself to think anyone would dare check. Come on, I whispered, watching the files start to copy. Photos of our family flashed on the screen as I copied her entire documents folder. Then I saw it, a folder named IFA Submission. The shower water turned off. My heart jumped. I quickly opened the folder. There it was, emails to Adam, photos taken directly from my sketchbook, even a message to her assistant saying she was borrowing inspiration from a new designer. The USB progress bar moved slowly. 65%, 67%. Footsteps started coming down the hall. 71%. 72%. Donna? Emma called. You still up here? The bathroom door creaked open. I held my breath, staring at the screen as the bar inched forward. Mom's cutting the cake, she shouted up the stairs. 85%. 88%. Just a minute. I called back, my voice shaking. I shouted back, trying to keep my voice calm. Girl stuff. Emma laughed from downstairs. Well, hurry up. You know how Mom gets about her desserts. 94%. 95%. I heard her footsteps coming up the stairs. 97%. 98%. The office door handle started to turn. 100%. I pulled the USB drive out just as Emma walked in. She was wearing a silk robe, her hair wrapped in a towel. What are you doing in my office? She asked sharply, even though she was smiling. I held up my phone. Sorry, better signal up here. I needed to check an important email. She looked at the laptop, then back at me. In my office? With the door closed? Force of habit, I said with a shrug, slipping the USB drive into my pocket. Didn't want to disturb anyone. She walked over to her desk, letting her fingers slide across the laptop. Strange. I don't remember leaving this on. It was already on when I came in, I said quickly. The light tasted awful. Probably just in sleep mode. Her eyes narrowed. Donna, still snooping around like when we were kids. Some things never change. And some things do, I said, looking her straight in the eye. Like people finally showing who they really are. Oh, is that what you think you're doing? Exposing the real me? She laughed, but her eyes stayed cold. Let's go. Mom's waiting with the cake. Downstairs, Mom was already slicing her famous chocolate cake. There you are, she said. Everything all right? Perfect, Emma said with fake cheer, taking her seat. Donna was just admiring my office. She said she's really inspired by my success. Mom smiled brightly. See? I knew you'd come around, Donna. Maybe your sister can give you some tips about careers. I set my fork down. Actually, I've been thinking about entering some design contests myself. The room went quiet. Dad looked up from his plate, sensing something was coming. Oh, honey, Mom said, her voice soft but fake. Don't you think it's better to focus on something more stable? Emma's success is rare. More like 1 in 1, I muttered. What was that? Emma asked sweetly. I said, I have my own designs. My own ideas. We know, dear, Mom said, patting my hand like I was a child. Your little projects are very cute, but Emma has real talent. It's not good to compare. Rachel, Dad said gently, trying to stop her. But Mom kept going. Remember when you both took dance classes? Emma was a natural. And you, well, some people are born to shine. And some people are born to have their work stolen. I snapped, the words flying out before I could stop them. Mom's fork hit her plate with a loud clatter. Not this again, she said. Yes, this again. I stood up and pulled out my phone. Look at these designs. Really look at them. The ones Emma is being praised for, they're mine. Every single one. Donna, Emma said, her voice full of warning. You're embarrassing yourself. No, I said firmly. You're the one embarrassing yourself. I turned to Mom. Your perfect daughter is a fake, and I can prove it. Her face turned red. Get out. Get out of this house right now. Gladly, I said, grabbing my purse, my hand shaking. But remember this, Mom. Remember how fast you pushed me aside. Again. I stormed out. Behind me, I heard Dad calling my name, but I didn't stop. My phone buzzed. A message from Joyce. Got the security footage. Meet now. I started my car and looked back at the house. Through the window, I saw Mom hugging Emma, who was pretending to be the hurt little sister, playing the part perfectly. On my way, I texted back. And Joyce, I got something even better than footage. I got proof. Joyce's eyes went wide as she looked through the files. This is huge. The timestamps, the emails, the photos, she didn't even try to hide it. We were all sitting in Henry's apartment, takeout boxes all over the coffee table. The files from the USB drive were up on his big monitor, clearly showing how Emma had stolen everything. She never thought anyone would check, Henry said, pointing at an email. Look at this. She actually told Adam to clean up the original sketches and delete your signature. My phone buzzed again. Dad was calling for the 5th time. I ignored it. You should probably talk to him, Henry said softly. Not yet, I replied, leaning forward as Joyce organized the evidence into folders. What's our next move? Joyce typed quickly. We release this the smart way. First, we go to Adam with the proof. He'll have to pick between protecting Emma or saving his career. And if he picks her? I asked. Then we go public, she said, serious now. But he won't. These files show he knew the designs were stolen. No job is worth destroying his reputation. My phone lit up again, a text from Dad. Please call me. We need to talk. I'll be right back, I said, stepping out onto the balcony. Dad picked up on the first ring. Princess, what's happening? You know what's happening, I said, my voice shaking. I looked out at the city lights, blinking away tears. You've always known. Remember my high school art show? When Emma submitted my painting as hers. You knew, didn't you? He was silent. Why didn't you say anything? I asked. Why did you let her keep doing this? It was easier, he said finally, with a heavy sigh. Your mom had big dreams for Emma. And you were always strong. You didn't seem like you needed anyone. That's not fair, I whispered. No, it wasn't. He paused, then said quietly, I saw the designs, Donna. The ones in the contest. They're amazing. They're mine, I said firmly. I know. Another pause. What are you going to do? Just then, Joyce slid open the balcony door, waving me over urgently and pointing at her laptop. I have to go, Dad, I said quickly. Wait, he replied. Whatever you're planning, be careful. Your sister, she's already making her move. Joyce suddenly spoke up, pointing at her screen. Look at this. A new article had just been posted on a big fashion blog. Rising star Emma responds to plagiarism claims. My troubled sister's jealousy has gone too far. She's trying to get ahead of the story, Henry said, reading over my shoulder. She's making you look like the jealous, unstable sister. My hands tightened into fists. Dad, I'll call you back. Donna, please. I ended the call and stared at the article. Emma had planned it perfectly. She was playing the role of the successful sister trying to help her struggling sibling. The article had carefully picked quotes and even childhood pictures that showed her as the sweet older sister. "This changes everything," Joyce said, already typing fast. "We can't wait any longer. If we do, she'll control the whole story." "But the awards ceremony," I started. "Forget the ceremony," Joyce said firmly. "That's her place. Her people. We need to tell your side somewhere bigger." She looked up at me, her eyes determined. "How do you feel about going live right now?" "What do you mean?" "I mean we do a live stream. Show all the proof. Tell your story, raw, honest, and real. No filters. No waiting for the perfect moment. Just the truth." Henry put his hand on my shoulder. "It's your choice, Donna." I stared at the article, at Emma's perfectly posed photo and well-written lies. 29 years of living in her shadow, of watching her take what was mine and make it shine. "Do it," I said. Joyce's fingers flew over the keyboard. "Give me 15 minutes to set it up. Henry, fix the lighting. Donna," she looked at me, "get ready to show the world who you really are." Just then my phone buzzed again. A message from Emma. "You're making a mistake. Back off now and maybe we can fix this. Keep going and I'll ruin you." I held up the phone for Joyce and Henry to see. "Perfect," Joyce said with a grin. "Save that. It's going to make a great opening screenshot." Henry adjusted his camera. "We're ready when you are." I took a deep breath, thinking about all the times I stayed silent. All the times I let Emma shine while I stayed in the background. Not this time. "Let's do this." I sat down in front of the camera and said, "It's time to finally speak up." Joyce started counting down. "Going live in 5, 4, 3. I looked straight into the camera, letting years of pain and silence turn into strength. 2, 1. The red light turned on. We were live. "My name is Donna," I began, "and this is the story of how my sister stole my dreams." 1 million views, and still going up, Joyce said, scrolling through her phone. "Fashion blogs are blowing up. Even Vogue wants a comment." 25 hours after the live stream, Henry's apartment looked like a command center. Phones, laptops, and tablets were spread out everywhere, each screen showing a new reaction to my video. "Emma hasn't posted anything," Henry added. "She's completely silent online." My phone kept buzzing. Reporters, designers, old classmates, everyone wanted to talk. But I didn't answer any of them. I only cared about one message. "Meet me at Dad's workshop. Please. Dad." "I have to go," I said, grabbing my jacket. Joyce touched my arm. "Wait. Adam just emailed. He wants to talk." "Forward it to me," I said. "I'll read it later." "Donna, he says he's ready to confirm everything," Joyce pressed. "He has original files with your signature and the dates. This could prove everything. It could end this." "It can wait," I said as I opened the door. "Right now, something else matters more." Dad's workshop hadn't changed a bit. The same tools hanging on the walls. The same smell of sawdust in the air. The same old radio playing rock music in the corner. He was at his workbench sanding a piece of wood. "You came," he said without turning around. "You asked," I replied, running my hand along a small wooden horse he made me when I was 6. "Is Mom talking to me yet?" "She's processing," he said, putting the sandpaper down. "Your video, it was something. Did you watch it?" "Every second," he said, finally turning to face me. "You've got your mother's fire when you're mad. Dad." "Let me finish," he interrupted. He picked up a small wooden box from the bench and handed it to me. "Remember this?" I held it in my hands, feeling the smooth edges. "My jewelry box. You made it for my 11th birthday. Open it." Inside was an old newspaper clipping. "Local girl wins art contest." My first win. Before Emma started stealing credit for everything. "I saved it," Dad said quietly. "And every other article about your real work. The ones that were truly yours. Why didn't you ever say anything?" He sat down slowly. "Because I was a coward. It was easier to stay quiet. To let your mom, believe whatever she wanted about Emma. I kept telling myself, you were strong enough to take it. I shouldn't have had to be strong all the time, I said. No, you shouldn't have, Dad replied quietly. He picked up another piece of wood. Your sister's outside. My heart skipped a beat. What? She's in her car. Been there for about 25 minutes. Probably trying to get the courage to come in. Right then, as if on cue, the workshop door creaked open. Emma stepped inside. She looked nothing like the perfect fashion star for magazines. Her hair was messy, her makeup almost gone, and she was wearing old jeans I hadn't seen since college. Donna, she said softly, we need to talk. Dad stood up. I'll give you 5 a minute. No, I said quickly.
Stay.
No more private talks. No more secrets. Emma walked in slowly, hugging herself. The International Fashion Awards Committee called. They're opening an investigation. Good, I said. Adam sent Joyce a copy of his email. She gave a bitter laugh. He's throwing me under the bus to save himself. Can you blame him? I asked. No, she said, looking me in the eyes. Just like I can't blame you for standing up for yourself. The radio crackled between songs. Dad kept his focus on his woodwork, pretending not to listen. Why did you do it? I asked. You already had everything. The fame, the praise, Mom's approval. Because I was scared, she said, her voice shaking. Every win meant more pressure. More people expecting greatness. When I saw your designs, they were everything I couldn't make, everything I was supposed to be. That's not a good enough reason. I know, she whispered, wiping her eyes. I've been awful to you for years. And I'm sorry. Sorry you did it or sorry you got caught? Both, she admitted. Then she pulled out her phone. I'm quitting the competition. I'm going to release a statement and tell the truth. It won't fix everything, but it's a start. My phone buzzed. Joyce had sent Adam's email. It had all the proof we needed to completely destroy Emma's reputation. The fashion world will shut you out, I said. I know, Emma nodded. But maybe it's time I learn who I am without all of that. I looked down at the jewelry box in my hands and the old newspaper clipping inside. My first real win, long before any of this started. Then I looked at my sister, finally showing her real self. I'll help you write the statement, I heard myself say. It needs to be fair to both of us. Dad smiled a little and went back to sanding. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Why would you help me? Because that's what real artists do, I said, opening my phone and reading Adam's email. We make something honest, even from broken pieces. The International Fashion Awards ceremony buzzed with quiet tension. Even though Emma had withdrawn from the contest, she still had to attend to speak about what happened. I stood backstage, watching the monitors as the event host walked up to the podium. You don't have to do this, Henry whispered, fixing my dress, one of my own designs, and finally with my name on it. Yes, I do, I said, squeezing his hand. For both of us. Joyce appeared beside us, holding her tablet. Social media is going wild. FashionGate is trending all over the world. The host's voice echoed through the room. Before we begin tonight's awards, we need to address an unexpected situation. Emma walked up next to me. She wore a plain black dress instead of her usual flashy style. Ready? She asked with a small, nervous smile. Not even close, I replied. Please welcome Emma and Donna to the stage, the host said. Bright lights hit us as we walked out together. Camera flashes lit up the room, and people whispered all around us. I saw Mom and Dad in the crowd. Mom looked tense. Dad gave me a small thumbs up. Emma reached the microphone first. Her hands were shaking. Good evening, she paused, looking at her notes. Silence filled the room. Someone coughed. I've spent my whole career pretending to be something I'm not, she finally said, putting the papers aside. The designs that got me into this competition weren't mine. They were made by my sister, Donna. People in the crowd gasped and started whispering again. I saw judges looking at each other. I stole her work, Emma continued, her voice a little steadier. Not just for this competition, but many times before. I took credit for her creativity, her ideas, her talent. I did it because I was scared. scared to fail, scared to disappoint the people who believed in me. But by doing that, I became what I feared most, a fraud. She turned to me, her face full of tears. I'm sorry, Donna. I'm so sorry. She stepped back. The microphone made a squeaky sound as I stepped forward. I took a deep breath. The fashion world loves drama, I said. Lately, the headlines have been all about betrayal and stolen designs. But tonight, I want to talk about something else, the truth. The spotlight felt warm on my face. I continued. Yes, my designs were stolen. Yes, my sister broke my trust. But the real story isn't about sketches. It's about learning to be your true self, no matter what. I took out my phone and opened my gallery. These are my new designs. Not the stolen ones. These are the ones I created during the hardest week of my life. Because real artists don't give up. We take pain, anger, and sadness, and we turn it into something beautiful. The giant screens behind me lit up with my newest sketches. The audience gasped, not just because of the designs, but because of the real feelings behind them. My sister is stepping down from the competition, I said. I turned to Emma and said, but I'm stepping forward. Not as someone hiding in the background, not just as the sister in a scandal. I'm stepping forward as myself. As Donna, the designer I was always meant to be. The silence in the room felt powerful. Then someone in the back started clapping. Slowly, more people joined in until the whole room was on their feet, applauding. Through my tears, I saw Mom stand up, really seeing me for the first time. Dad was smiling proudly. Joyce and Henry were cheering from backstage. The head judge stepped up to the microphone. Because of everything that's happened, he said, the committee has decided to create a special recognition award. Donna, your bravery in speaking up and your amazing new collection show everything we care about in fashion, new ideas, honesty, and true creativity. More applause. More camera flashes. Emma squeezed my hand. Thank you, I said into the mic, but I didn't come here for awards. I came to take back my voice. And now that I've found it, I'm never going to be quiet again. As we walked off stage, reporters rushed toward us, shouting questions. Donna, will you press charges? Emma, what's next for you? Is this the end of your relationship? Emma stood tall. This isn't the end of anything. It's the beginning. My sister is the real talent in this family. And now, everyone finally knows it. Joyce quickly stepped in to help. Official statements will be shared tomorrow, she told the reporters. Right now, these sisters need some time. Backstage, Emma turned to me. Did you mean what you said about turning pain into something new? I looked at my phone, at the designs I had created during those long, painful nights. Every word, I said. Will you teach me? She asked softly. Not to copy you, but to find my voice. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. We can start tomorrow. The spotlight still shone on the empty stage, waiting for the regular awards to continue. But for the first time in my life, I didn't need that light. I had found my own. Hold still, I said, fixing the hem on Emma's dress. This is your first design. It has to be perfect. The small boutique was buzzing. Outside, fashion bloggers and curious guests waited for our grand opening. What if they hate it? Emma whispered, fidgeting nervously. Then they hate it, I said calmly. But we made it, and it's ours. I stood up and looked at the dress. But this time, it's truly yours. The dress was simple, not like Emma's old flashy styles. It had clean lines, no extra decorations, but every detail had been carefully done. She designed it herself, with just a little help from me on the technical parts. 5 minutes. Joyce called out, holding a clipboard. She had gone from being a reporter to our PR manager, saying she couldn't resist being part of the next chapter in our story. Henry was checking his camera settings. Lighting's perfect. Ready when you are. Mom walked out from the back with a fresh pot of coffee. She had been quiet all morning, just watching us with a thoughtful look I didn't quite understand. Donna, she said gently, can we talk for a minute? Emma gave my hand a quick squeeze and went to check the front window display. I followed Mom into the small office. I've been thinking about your old art classes, she said, setting down the coffee. You used to spend hours making sure every detail was right, while Emma would rush to finish and show me the final piece. Mom, we don't have to. Please, she said, holding up her hand. I was so focused on the result, I didn't see the effort behind it. I never really appreciated the time and care it takes to make something real. She pulled out an old magazine, my first cover story after the awards. I'm sorry it took me this long to truly see you. Just then, the bell above the door rang. Dad came in carrying a wooden sign. Where should I hang this? I read the carved words. Johnson Sisters Design Studio. Sisters, I repeated softly. Emma stepped into the room. If you'll have me as a real partner this time, she said with a hopeful smile. The press is going to love this, Joyce said, already typing on her phone. A story about family, forgiveness, and a fresh start. It's not for the press, Emma said. It's about doing it right this time. I ran my fingers across the carved sign, feeling Dad's careful work. Above the register, I said. So, everyone sees it. Dad nodded and started hanging it. 5 minutes. Henry called out. Wait, Mom said, reaching into her bag. I have something for both of you. She pulled out 3 small wooden boxes, just like the one Dad had given me before. Inside, each was a studio key. You're both equal partners now, she said. Equal access. No more borrowed time. No more stolen chances. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Mom, no crying, Joyce warned. You'll mess up your makeup. Everyone places. We gathered at the front door. Through the glass, I could see a crowd waiting. Some were holding magazines with my designs on the cover. Others held invitations to our grand opening. Ready, Henry said, raising his camera. I looked at Emma and thought about everything we'd been through. I had spent years standing in her shadow, but now we stood side by side. Neither in front, neither behind. Donna, Emma said softly, biting her lip. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for earning it, I replied. Opening in 5. 4, Joyce called out, counting down. Mom and Dad stood behind the counter, ready with fresh coffee for our first guests. 3, 2. Henry's camera started recording. 1. I turned the key and opened the door. The bell rang, bright and clear. The crowd outside moved forward, excited to come in. But what caught my attention was a young girl holding a sketchbook. She stared at us with wide eyes. Are you the designers? She asked, lifting her sketchbook. Emma knelt down to her level and smiled. We are. Do you want to show us your designs? The girl nodded and opened her sketchbook, showing pages filled with colorful, messy drawings. They're not very good, she said shyly. They're perfect, I said, smiling. Because they're yours. As the store filled with people, I saw Emma kneeling beside the young artist, gently talking about design ideas. Joyce was guiding interviews. Henry was taking pictures of all the real, happy moments. Our parents handed out coffee to fashion critics who looked both surprised and impressed. The morning sunlight hit the wooden sign above the counter, Johnson Sisters Design Studio, casting 3 shadows that matched perfectly for the first time. Hey, Donna, Emma called. Come over here. This young designer has something amazing to show you. I walked to the counter, picked up a pencil, and listened as the girl shared her idea, her eyes glowing with excitement. This is what creating is supposed to feel like. Open, honest, shared. The bell kept ringing as more people walked in, but we stayed there, focused on the sketchbook, 3 artists building something new together. Because the best designs aren't just about clothes. They're about rebuilding trust, fixing what was broken, and making room for everyone to shine.